everybody. Bum, 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 bum. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hey, hit that pre-roll in about a minute. 60 seconds. Gonna hit that pre-roll. You guys get subs. Bum, 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 bum. I'm going to turn my bit rate down ever so slightly. See if we can hang on to YouTube tonight. So far, everything looks green. Nice and green, nice and green. Good evening, everybody. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody. Grab your drinks and your snacks and your pitchforks. I'm kidding. You don't need pitchforks. Because our guests have nothing to do with events or engineering or Apple or hashtag free DTI. Nope. They just wrote amazing content and new away teams and new independent archives. Hey, what's going on, Sam? How you doing, Sam? Welcome in, Sam. How you doing, Sam? How you doing, Sam? How you doing, Sam? Welcome in, Sam. How you doing, Sam? Okay. All right, gotta hit the pre-roll. See you in a second. Good evening, everybody. All right. Sorry, it took me a second to get everything ready. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Where's the pause button? Oh, you know what? There's like 6 seconds left. I'm just going to let it finish. Might as well just let it finish. Oh, what's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome. All right. Who's here and ready to rock and roll? Good evening, everybody. I am so excited to see you guys tonight. What's going on? Welcome in. Talking Trek is live. Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast as we prepare for the arrival of Scopely's game design here tonight. To get a little bit of insight into all the craziness of the last 48 hours, we're going to get into it here tonight. I would like to welcome you all. Thank you.
I'm full of positive energy.
Lots of positive energy tonight as we get ready to get our learn on. And we're going to start, like we always do, with the Talking Trek server sound off. You guys go ahead and punch it in the chat. Raj kicking us off on server 9. Thank you very much. Chase on 44. Noon Whistle on 29. Tarpy on server 70. What's going on? Royal Power on 36. Martok on server 8. Timothy on 93. Sherlock Holmes on server 27. Counselor Hef on server 20. Gradumacated on 26. Tycon on 33. What's going on? Housekeeping on 16. Mimi on server 61. What's going on? Good evening. Welcome in. We got the sexy server 70 is here with Mr. Belair. Thank you. Trash Keeper on server 53. What's going on? Thank you, JG Nazi. I read nasty when I read your name, and I was like, wait, that's not right. Wristbreaker on 70. What's going on? Martinez on server 24. Good evening. Welcome. Broken Wolf on server 99. Ben Size says, yo, what's up? Let's go. Hero on server 30. Manxman on 24. Barebutt Owls hanging out on 24. Engineer on 89. KJ on 34. Thank you. Jerry on 74. John Rill on 32. Ben to the Robot on 51. Carillius on 13. Maj on 67. Callum Dory on server 704. What's going on? Mike on 63. Dr. Iron Chef on server 14. Mark on server 114. What's going on? Moose on 53. Captain Taylor on 27. Shelby on 701. Gray Sabers on 29. Silver Tab on 40. Anubis on 201. Spock on server 35. Chef on server 31. Riggs on 131. And Venatia on 11. Cha-Cha Aurora 156. Oh my gosh. Can you believe the size of this audience, Griffin? My goodness gracious. Already, we are not 3 minutes into the show. There's over 300 people in the live studio audience. What's going on, Nova, on server 167, and a first-time chatter. Thank you. Bam. What's going on, everybody? Woo. Griffin, good evening to you. Welcome in. Goodness.
Thank you. That's impressively large. That long list of servers to read off, which is always a great way to start a show on a beautiful Thursday evening. UltimatDJz, are you ready to talk details tonight?
I am ready to talk details, okay? I am ready to talk insight. I've got my questions that were curated by the community. We have probably too much to actually get to, Griffin. We're going to have 60 minutes with these guys, all right? Which means,
well, community, you know what that means? That means not enough time.
Not enough time! Well, seriously, not enough time. But I will tell you this, all right? There's a couple of things that have happened here tonight, okay? A, I'm early. Okay, the game
that's not possible.
The game designers are going to be here at 8 o'clock. I wanted to get here with you. Griffin wants to be green. Gotcha. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I always want to be green, obviously, because it's my lot in life.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you. I am early because I wanted to get through. I wanted to get to the fluff. I wanted to give our announcements very quickly. We've got Jules on the stage. He's got PSAs. I know, shocker that I'm early, but we have 60 minutes. We got 60 minutes, all right? And I've got way more questions than 60 minutes. Honestly, Jules, when it comes to the way that we normally conduct an interview, all right, I am very conversational. I like to ask questions. I like to dive in. I like to discuss the answer. And I am afraid, Jules, that I might not have that luxury tonight because there's so much to talk about. We've got 60 minutes, and there is so much to talk about. So I am going to need you guys to keep amazing notes, all right? I'm going to need you guys to keep absolute incredible notes because I'm going to go through these questions, and we might not have time to discuss in super depth, Jules, about the answers that we get. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get Mr. Tiger's answers. We're going to need to get Domen's answers, and then we're going to have to break those down a little bit later, okay? Shinjo says 6:30 start time published, 6:43 actual start, 13 minutes late in reality. DJ says he's early. First of all, the 7:30 was always just to make sure that we were here before 8. All right. That was what we were just trying to make sure that we were here on time for game design. Webster says
it's like the school doors open early, but the school bell goes off at 8.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right. Webster says it's horrible that this thing isn't recorded. Wait, what? We're recording everything. All right. But I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to have time to listen back to it when we're trying to talk right after. We've got 60 minutes. We're not going to end the show. All right, at 60 minutes, we're going to come in. We're going to analyze. Jules has more teaching. We've got more math. We've got charts. And, Jules, I'm kind of curious to see how Domen's and Mr. Tiger's answers coincide with the math that we've developed here tonight. So we're going to be able to get into that. A couple of announcements, all right, very quickly. First of all, are we going to talk about Fleet Commander Lorca? Obviously, it's about time, okay? We're gonna get into that. No, in all seriousness, Fleet Commander Khan, we are preparing some teaching on that. That will probably not come tonight. We do have a couple of very brief PSAs that Jules is going to be sharing with you regarding some content coming up here this evening, just stuff to look out for. Jules, very specifically, I instructed you to be prepared to give your quick announcements, but we're going to have to basically say, here's what we're recommending and a brief reason as to why. We're going to have to get into it later. Because we've got so much to do tonight. So there's going to be a lot. Jules, thank you for standing by. Ladies and gentlemen, Jules Verne is in the audience and super pumped about this and contributing to the math and getting all this going. Couple of things that I want to remind you guys of, okay? And Griffin, we have to do this every single time, and I think that we have to absolutely do it today just to make sure that we're all on the same page, all right? First of all, what are you drinking? Okay. I mean, the absolute crucial question here. Good evening, Wilson. How are you? No, put your pitchfork down, Royal. Put it down. What are you drinking, Griffin? Because I myself tonight have decided that I have 24 cans that I'm going to have to get through. So I might as well start to try to get used to the wonderful natural flavor of Ghost Energy Peach. All right, that's what I've got. The very first can I had was not a big fan. Not a big fan of this, but I'm gonna. I've got to drink more than one or two. Some people told me in chat, Griffin, that it might take a minute or two for me to get used to this one, just because it's all natural flavor and it's not stocked with sugar like we would normally expect out of a fruit flavored drink. So I am having another one because there's no sugar. Absolutely no sugar, no carbs, 5 calories, 200 milligrams of caffeine, 1,000 milligrams of carnitine, legendary energy, and epic focus. As a matter of fact, I have it on good authority that Mr. Tiger might have received 7 or 8 cases of Ghost Energy from the Talking Trek team as he was preparing for his art, Griffin. Not entirely.
Oh, that's great news. But that explains why it turned out so great.
It's why there's so much grind. Because he figures with all the Ghost Energy you guys are drinking, you too can play 25 hours a day. All right, we're going to talk about that tonight, coming up in 9 minutes. Griffin, your drink of choice tonight, I know you were very busy as we were leading to the show.
What? I don't have a ghost with me. I crushed my ghost. I've been editing these 2 Jules Verne videos, and they're gone.
Oh my God. The show is over.
I know.
We're done.
I have a real problem today. I have absolutely no ghost energy drink fueling my fire, and I don't know what I'm going to do about it.
Well, you're going to take the next 6.5 minutes and you're going to go get a drink. Iron Fister says, then bourbon. Maybe so. All right, listen. Couple of reminders. Yeah, how can Griffin do a show without Ghost? I don't know.
I don't know.
This I feel like this is Floyd says the arc has been a disappointment. I'm afraid this show's going to be a disappointment. Griffin doesn't have his Ghost. All right.
Oh, fine.
Go. Thank you. Get ready to ruin the whole show. My good God. Couple of reminders, everybody. As we get ready to bring our guest up here in just a moment, I want to remind you guys of a couple of things. Matters is on the stage. Putz is on the stage, and we'll be hanging out for just a second, and then I'm going to clear the stage here in just a moment when our guests come. But Matters, there's very clear department distinctions here, okay? And I have always found it very, very important to recognize the separation of responsibilities, okay? We are going to talk to Domen and Mr. Tiger about the grind, okay? About the hostels, the 4 different hostels, the loot tables, the refines. That stuff has a lot to do with game design, okay? That level of grind, how we're getting into the loop, that is absolutely their bag. What's not their bag, okay, are the engineering issues that we've experienced over the last 48 hours. What's not their bag are the events that have gone up, including the heroic grind event, all right? Which is weird for me to say, a heroic grind event Matters, all right? That's an odd thing for me to say.
A lot of those?
You don't see a lot of those. However, there are events up right now that are requiring some players on the fringe, not necessarily mainstream, but some players on the fringe to hit hundreds of hostels a day. All right? So the events, I feel like he's slamming around in the back. Is he back? Yeah, he doesn't look happy with me right now. Why do you look so grumpy? Are you actually out of Ghost? Oh, you can't. Are you actually?
No, I'm not out of. Who's out of Ghost?
Well, I mean, you look grumpy that you had to go get a Ghost. I mean, goodness gracious.
It's 19 steps down. It's 19 steps up. And the mother-in-law is here. And that means that I have to engage in conversation with her.
Why didn't you say so? We would have just DoorDashed you something and you could have just stayed in the cave. Okay.
There's only one thing that can take that impossibly horrible situation and turn it around. And that is a nice citrus Ghost energy drink filled with all the lemon lime goodness that you could possibly want.
There you go.
Just click your troubles away. And I also brought up a discontinued red berry.
Yeah.
I did get 3 cases. So I got 36 cans of all 3 just in case, before we have to say goodbye. But yeah. Here's to you, DJ. Nice little red berry.
Very good. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. We are going to talk about the hostel cap a little bit if it's time for that to be looking at. But again, Matters, things that are not their responsibility. The Apple update, okay, has nothing to do with game design. Nothing, okay? The event design doesn't have anything to do with that. Free DTI doesn't have anything to do with them, okay? What we're here to talk about tonight is specifically the Wrath of Khan arc. We are here specifically to talk about the ATA loop, the hostels loop, and the currencies. And listen, there are a few of them. Okay. As a matter of fact, we've got our Mr. Tiger avatar ready with his jar of currencies. He actually asked me before the arc if we had enough currencies, and I asked him to add a few more. He took me seriously. So we've got that, Matters. That's coming up. So that is all going to be happening. But I do ask that you guys have just a few, Shelby. Okay. I do have to ask. All right. And I mean this with all sincerity, and I genuinely do ask that you guys maintain a respectful atmosphere. I know that you always do, all right? But I also know that there is frustration. I know that there is some pent-up energy regarding the launch of this arc, and Scopely, I think, knows that as well. What I find extremely admirable is that Domen and Mr. Tiger are still here anyway. Okay, they're still here to talk to you. They're still here to be player facing. They're still here to answer your questions, to give us insight. All right, that's right, Jesus. Tiger's not the guy to vent to. Okay, Tiger is the guy who built this arc and has built many of your favorite features throughout the past, including Deep Space Nine. All right, which has been, and Bjorn, which is literally still to this day been praised as one of the best. He is the guy,
my favorite, Voyager. Don't forget Voyager.
Yes, absolutely. He also built the Mirror Universe, which I am going to liken the launch here of the Augment reintroduction to a little bit like the Mirror Universe. We had pain points in the first month that he eventually solved. I have no doubt that he has a longer play in his mind, and I do believe that we'll get a little bit of insight into that today as well. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce them onto the stage here very, very shortly. I don't see them up. I do see Mr. Tiger, and I'm looking for Domen in the chat. We'll get them up here very quickly and see if we can get. I don't see. Is Domen in yet? I don't see him yet. But ladies and gentlemen, we do have a random Tiger in the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tiger is here. Oh, man, I messed up the...
You need a new image there, buddy.
I
That's
know.
Mirror Universe.
I know. It is Mirror Universe. I messed up. The name tag isn't right either. Here, let me fix that. There, see? That's good.
There's two of me. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. What's this? Live
I got
edits?
I got it fixed. All right, yeah. Live edits, right? Live on the fly. Here, we'll take that one down for just a moment while we're waiting on Domen. I don't see him in our voice chat just yet, but I think our handlers backstage might be getting him in. All right. So yeah, no, he is. Iron Fister says,
Wait, we have handlers?
House?
We have budget for handlers now?
No. When I say handlers, obviously I mean Beck has full control of this stream and actually has like a kill button. All right, there's a kill switch.
Okay, because if we have handlers, I don't expect to go all the way downstairs for my ghost energy in the future. I'm just saying.
There is indeed a kill switch on the stream. I can tell you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, also on the stage, I'm going to bring him up right now. This would be Domen. How are you, gentlemen? Good evening and welcome.
Hey, you guys.
Happy Thursday or Friday, as the case may be.
Yeah, now listen, everybody needs to know this about Domen. Domen, where are you right now? You're not where it's like barely after lunch and getting ready to enjoy your evening like Tiger. It's the middle of the night, right?
Oh, sure. I work from Barcelona, so as some of you know, Scopely has offices pretty much all over the world. So yeah, I'm over there in Spain. It's currently 2 a.m. here, and I'm just chilling here with my late night coffee, and yeah, getting ready for this.
Griffin,
thank you for being here. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
2 o'clock in the morning. That's the dedication that we've got from our game design team here. And obviously, this is Domen's first time for being on our stage. Welcome to Talking Trek. Mr. Tiger is becoming quite the pro. And I am obviously very, very grateful that you guys are back here, Mr. Tiger. Thank you so much for being here. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got very limited time in which to do it. So, Mr. Tiger, first of all, if you don't mind, would you introduce to our audience who might not have heard your voice before, who may not know much about the design? You've been with Scopely for a real long time. You've designed a number of feature arcs for the players. Tell the audience who might not know who you are, how long you've been with the company, what you've worked on, and why some of their content, some of the content you've built, has been some of their favorite. What have you done for us?
What a great intro. Thanks, DJ. Hi, guys. My name's Tiger. You can call me Mr. Tiger if you'd like. If you want to show that.
That's Mr. Tiger to you people out there.
Mr. Tiger.
Exactly. Actually, it's because of DJ that my name became that. I used to go by Tiger, but you were the first to call me that. I was like, I kind of like that. That's cool.
So
we're going with it.
Yeah, we're gonna stick with it there. Tibbs, thank you. Welcome into your audience. We're just starting. Domen and Mr. Tiger on the stage. Mr. Tiger introducing himself to the audience. What I know I've told you before, the Bjorn faction, one of the game's all-time favorites, that was you.
Yeah, so actually, I've been at Scopely for 4 years now, almost coming up on 4 years. And so Bajoran was one of the early things that I worked on, which is a ton of fun. NX01, which is a lot of fun with the Zindi and the different types there. Mirror Universe, Voyager, a bunch of really cool stuff. And now I am very blessed to work on Wrath of Khan, which is huge. Who doesn't love Wrath of Khan? It's a huge part of the Star Trek universe, and I'm just loving it.
It might be the most iconic movie of all time, whether you take the older properties, the newer properties. Wrath of Khan is referred to as many as the movie of the franchise. There's so much icon in that movie, and so when you guys shared with me that you guys were working on Wrath of Khan, this to me felt like, Mr. Tiger, this was another opportunity at TNG, right? Something huge, something iconic. Like this was always gonna be a big feature. It didn't matter what you guys were working on in the pipeline. This was always going to be a huge project for you guys, right?
And that's kind of, there's pressure to it, but there's also excitement that comes with it. And so super thankful to work with D on this. He is super competent, and yeah, we're excited to talk about some of the cool stuff and hear what you have to think and have some dialogue on it.
Awesome. We appreciate that. Domen, this is your first time on our stage. We appreciate that. But the audience has gotten a lot of you over the last couple of weeks because Beck released a video introducing you to the community and your work on the independent archives. Of course, now we know that you're doing some work here with away teams and Wrath of Khan with Mr. Tiger. Tell us a little bit about your background here, and you wasted no time jumping in because the independent archives, I watched your interview with Beck on that. You guys have some very lofty goals with that, and not only did you work on implementing the independent archive updates here over the last couple of months, but then you were also neck deep in Wrath of Khan as well.
Yeah, when it comes to my involvement, or like just when I came at Scopely, I guess I am among the newer people in the team. I started by working in some quality of life improvements, more along the lines of some Stubi improvements, stuff like that. And then, yes, my first arc was Q Continuum, and that included the whole independent archives project. And we had a whole bunch of research done on just about every loop and how players engage with them. And then, of course, yeah, that's how we ended up including it into Q Continuum. And yeah, Khan is now my second arc. When it comes to Q Continuum, that was already amazing for me because I was always a huge fan of Q, so that was kind of like a mini dream come true. And then when it comes to Wrath of Khan, it's kind of like that, but like maybe like 10 times bigger because it's literally my first introduction to Star Trek as a kid. So just being able to work on something like Wrath of Khan is absolutely amazing.
Well, that's awesome. And
it's great to know that both of them just love Star Trek.
Exactly.
You know, you can get a job anywhere doing video game design, but the fact that you have that love and passion for the franchise, man, that's incredible.
Yeah, I was going to absolutely point that out. The fact that Wrath of Khan is what got him into Star Trek as a young person. That's cool that you're a fan, and I'm sure that must be very, very exciting to be able to come back and work on that. So we've got a lot to get into tonight. First question. This is going to be what we have to do tonight, folks. We're going to do some quick questions. I'm going to let D answer this because he did already answer this with Beck, and we'll refer you over to StarTrekFleetCommand.com to check out that video. But Fisty asked, hey, great work on the Devore and Fisha being archived. Heard that the Franklin series of ships, Domen, are on the way. You had mentioned Stella. Is Stella in the mix? Are you feeling like that is going to be able to happen this year?
Stella this year, I would say it's right up there at the top of the list. I would say between Stella and Meridian, those are probably our two candidates for. Let's say when it comes to these click-heavy, time-consuming loops, yeah, they're probably our top priority. So I think it's a good bet to say. You never know how it's going to happen when we end up prioritizing things as we work on other arcs. It's definitely a super complex loop, and this means that this adds to the overall workload tied to this particular independent archives. So I assume that if it ends up being added into any new arc coming up this year, most likely it's going to be done not in a way what we're doing right now with Wrath of Khan, where we are able to take let's say 4 fairly simple, or like you could even say like we're just taking 2 loops and including everything into 2 tempos, but more so as, let's say, as one individual archive in one arc. So more just focusing on that one and making sure it gets done, rather than creating like a massive bundle of several archives together, just because of the complexity. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's a very good bet that it ends up being in by the end of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of clicks in there, so absolutely, we'll be looking forward to that. Well, let's get into the new content here. Wrath of Khan, Tiger. I joked just a couple of minutes before the show had really started that you and I had a chance to talk before the arc started, and you asked if there were enough currencies to keep me happy in this arc, and I'm like, no, I feel like you haven't set your record. Feel like you're going to need to throw in a few more. And I, much to my surprise, you actually took me up on that offer. There's a lot going on. There is a lot going on with this arc. This might be one of the most in-depth and most mechanically detailed arcs that you've ever released into Star Trek Fleet Command. So I would like very much to kind of start at the very beginning when we're talking about getting involved with this new expanded augment faction. It starts with the hostiles, all right? And we've got a lot of loot coming from the hostiles. First, can you tell us a little bit about the design insight into the hostile space, into the currencies, and into the design that went into these hostiles? And I've got maybe 1 or 2 questions for you after that. But first, I'd just kind of like to hear from you. When you were designing this, how close to your original conception did this thing come out when it came to the design layout of your feature?
Yeah. So a little fact about me, I always like to try new things. Sometimes they work well. Sometimes they need improvement. Only time will tell. For this, I, again, was trying something a little bit different. And so I think it's going to take some time. I think this is like, you can quote me on this. I probably said this on every podcast. Give it some time, folks. Let's see how things shake out. I'm going to say the same thing here, but we're also monitoring to see how things scale. So what's my intent? My intent is I wanted to reward the most engaged players and reduce their grind. So I've seen a lot of people interacting and thinking, oh, it's 4 grinds. That's not the intention. And so the intention here is that we have 4 different hostiles, or 4 different hostile loots. One is associated with every grade. So if you're a grade 6 player, you should be getting the best bang for your buck, right? You're getting the epic credits. And then a little bit of the rare and a little bit of the uncommon. If you're a lower level player, you're only going to be getting the common. However, one of the learnings that I've tried to apply here is that I don't like hard gates. I don't think players like hard gates. And so I'd rather have soft gates. And so every refinery is open to every player from Ops 26 plus. So you can see the epic grind if you're low level, and it can look like 4 grinds, but you're not supposed to have to do that. And so the intention here is kind of pick your own adventure. You choose which refineries are best suited to you where you are at right now, and you kind of pick that one. So rather than excluding players, I included, but by including, there's a whole lot more to do. And so I'm going to monitor to see how this scales. Some of the details that I think are important, though, is that on day 1, every refinery is not on cooldown, but the epic refinery is actually a 5-day cycle. And the rare one is, I think, 4 days and then 3 days or something like this. And they go, oh, sorry, it's 5, 3, 2, 1. And so while it does feel extensive initially, I'm hoping that this kind of balances out in the long run, and it truly does eventually become a pick your own spot, where if I'm hitting epics, I'm getting a little bit of the other ones, and maybe sometimes I want to hit a common. Just it keeps it, I'm hoping, interesting. And so that's where I'll start with that. But let's have a discussion on this, because there's a lot to unpack on how these work and the intention behind them.
Well, that is a great thing for us to start on, because that was one of my first questions to you, is that this does feel like 4 grinds. And we're not even going to talk about the events, guys. Again, remembering that the events are nothing to do with here. We're talking about just the currencies and then the refines. Yeah. Now, the Star Trek Fleet Command community, especially the most engaged community, they love to min-max everything. So not only are they looking at all 4 currencies, Mr. Tiger, they're also looking at double pulls of all 4 currencies. I know. We talk about this every time you come on, and every time you come on, you're like, guys, stretch goals were never meant to be done on day 1. We want it all. We want everything. We want it right now. But are you saying that the loot that comes from these hostels was really was really intended for players to be focused on what they wanted or where they naturally felt like they were going to be? In other words, G6 players by design would pretty much just be earning a majority of epic Wrath credits with a trinkle of the rest of them. And G5 players were earning a majority of rare with a trinkle of the rest of them. Is that kind of how we're looking at it?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, that it's kind of an invisible little detail, but I understand also that G6 players actually have less cargo to work with. And so that's why you see a bit more fall off and a bit less requirements on how much resource that those players need at the epic bracket, is because, hey, their ships can't actually carry as much. And if I were to put tons of common on there, you might actually fill up on common before you even can get the epics that you want. And so there's a couple details like that, and maybe they don't work perfectly. I do want to monitor, and I am monitoring, and there will be changes coming if needed, especially because this is an arc, right? And this is just the start, guys. So let's keep giving that feedback, and we can actually get some changes if we need to. But that's kind of some of the reasoning behind it. And yes, it is a trickle down. You get what you need primarily, and you get a little trickle of everything below that.
So this actually is really, really great insight, and I'd like to refer to the chat on this. If I am meant to primarily be hitting one target, which, by the way, I love, okay? If the goal for me is to be hitting one hostile instead of 4, would it be possible then to consider adding in the previous grade of credits as you go higher? For example, in the Epic Hijacked Exchange, we do have our Epic credits in there, but it would be nice maybe to have a little rare and uncommon and common. And the reason really common being the big one, Mr. Tiger, because all of the favors require lots and lots of common, thousands of common, in fact. If we take a look at the favor costs, it's significant there. So if I was asking you your design intent with the favors and how that feeds into a pick your path kind of thing, are the favors meant to be wildly important to the player base? Should they be a priority?
Favors are supposed to be really good, especially for G6, because I believe this is some of the strongest cost efficiency we've done, maybe ever, but definitely recently for G6. Like, it's been pretty tight up till now. And so, I definitely want people getting that. And it is going to take some time. In terms of, can we add credits of lower rarity into higher rarity chests, I think that's interesting. I'm looking into some different ideas. I also think that, like, maybe it wasn't such a great idea to have no loot at all, like no common loot at all on the epics. Maybe we want to put some loot back on those guys. Like, there's a couple different things I'm exploring. So just keep the feedback coming, and there are different things we're looking into. Another thing that I thought was really interesting was there's no trade down right now. I like trade downs, man. I like trade downs. I mean, if you've seen all my other features, I always do trade downs. We can do that here. And I thought it could be interesting to allow players to just turn their epics into rares and turn their rares into uncommons. So that way you don't necessarily need to just tack on an extra currency, but your 1 becomes, I guess, quote, 4 in a way. So
for sure,
just get more value for it, right? So a couple ideas that I'm exploring.
Yeah, if you look at the Mirror Universe, that was actually a huge piece of your strategy, a huge piece of your design, was to really work those cooldowns, because in the Mirror Universe, for example, we did have a lot of need for the common mirror dust, and you came out and said, listen, hey, don't panic here a little bit. Like, in the beginning, to get through some of those prerequisite hurdles, you did actually suggest trading down your rare and uncommon at least to the common to get through some of those higher requirements. A trade down probably would absolutely fix this 4 grind thing. Mainly because you do have a lot of players that are trying to work all of those exchanges. Now, early on, you still have players that are going to be chasing reputation, but if the credits were there, or there was a trade mechanic for those credits, that would allow players to focus on the bundles that they can hit and focus on the hostels they can hit, but then on the favors too. Griffin, what do you think about the trade down idea?
I think that it's a great idea, but another alternative, Mr. Tiger, that I would like to propose to you, instead of, or in addition to a trade down, or definitely instead of adding common loot to these higher end enemies, because as the G6 player, you're right, I have little to no cargo to work with, is some other form of efficiency or artifact or research or fleet commander ability to reduce or eliminate the need for those common resources for me in the first place if I were to pursue that new path. So there are many ways to attack efficiencies other than just, putting more loot on a ship that we don't really have room for.
Yeah, that's true.
I trust that you will find the best way to do that.
I mean, perhaps there could be loot chests introduced. Right now, the loot chests are dropping another currency, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. But yeah, that was where I really kind of wanted to start with you, Mr. Tiger, is just, these different currencies right now do have players feeling like they've got to hit these 4 hostiles, in particular because of the favor cost. I know, for example, me, I've been grinding in the 40 level space, which I'm sure is annoying to all the G4 players.
Annoying. I get so much hate mail. I'm bringing in my 2 GS31s. I'm hitting 10 of them every 50 seconds. There's nothing left for anybody else.
I was doing the same thing. I was just beaming hostiles.
That's all I'm hearing is greedy. Yeah. Actually, by the way, one of the things that I think is interesting here, rather than hitting every hostile, you can strategically hit at certain points. And that was kind of intentional. So I probably want uncommon. I definitely want everyone to open every chest. I'll say that. Okay. So you want to be opening every chest. I'm aware of that. And so what's the best way to do it? It's probably not hitting commons, because if you're hitting only commons, sure, you're getting more common loot, but you're not getting anything else. If you're hitting some uncommons, now you're getting a lot of uncommon and a little less common, but still common. And so you need to kind of strategize exactly where you should hit to get the best bang for your buck. And I think that's something that's going to take some time to figure out. And also it's probably going to be a little different for everyone depending on what options you have available to you. I think that's part of the fun. I think that it might be a little bit too complex in hindsight looking back on it. There's probably things we can do to polish it, and there's things we will do to polish it. But that was the intention, is to kind of explore and find something that works and kind of get a little of both in some places, and just that kind of behavior.
Guys, in the graphics room right now, if you're listening in podcast form, we do have a chart up that is going to kind of speak to what Mr. Tiger was just talking about, and I'll pull it on screen now. This right here, Mr. Tiger, if you're looking at your screen, is the breakdown of loot. And as you would indicate, level 40, for example, being the one that's going to earn you the absolute most amount of common loot. But what we have discovered here is that you've actually built a bell curve, so to speak. And again, this chart is at 8:18 p.m. Eastern Time in the graphics room. For example, starting at level 42 hostiles, you start to back off on that common loot almost to the exact same number as the level 38 hostile, but now it's starting to add some uncommon. So what you're seeing in this chart is almost a bell curve of loot, guys, where the common will go up, and then as the common starts to come back down, you start to see the increase of uncommon, and the same thing with rare and epic. The issue, I think, that what players are discovering here is, depending on your level, Mr. Tiger, loot crews are obviously being very, very helpful here. So the reason that we might feel like there are 4 grinds here is because there is absolutely no better place to min-max that particular currency than in what we're referring to as the decade system. All right, your level 40s for common,
nice.
The level 50s for uncommon, the level 60s for rare, and then whatever you can do in G6. That will absolutely result in the most amount of loot. So that's where players have kind of strategically discovered, I can still hit fewer hostiles by hitting these decade hostiles, but that's where they're pretty much exclusively kind of mathematically motivated to go. And that's why it does feel like 4 different hostiles. I know that you are also super infamous for, as you said a few minutes ago, let's see how this plays out. And that has always held true with your arcs. As a matter of fact, I remember a lot of the same kind of conversations with premium rift keys and the Mirror Universe rift keys and all that stuff going on with Mirror Universe, and you very effectively solved that over the course of the Mirror Universe run. If players are feeling overwhelmed by this particular early set of grind, all right, as Arani points out, it's just too much grinding right now to get each material refine. Do you expect, Mr. Tiger, that this grind is going to grow easier over time, or do you have plans or tools without spoiling anything? I mean, is this going to be like Mirror Universe and we're going to see this kind of level out to be a traditional level of grind moving forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. The intention is not that you have to min-max to be able to participate, because I'm going to be real, like, to start, it's a lot of hostiles to hit. I know this. I'm in there playing too, right? So it's going to scale. I'm going to drop a couple hints here. One, wow, those revenge hostiles dropped twice the loot. Sure would be awesome if I could turn off that weapon and auto farm. That's the first thing I'll say. I wonder if they're a threat right now, if they could actually become my friend later. Interesting.
Oh my!
So
well, there you go.
And then what if I were to drop a couple ships in different systems, strategically placed, that I could just kind of get all that loot for free? Interesting. Also, don't dismiss Carol Marcus, who has 700% loot bonus. We're gonna get that at some point, right? Like, she's coming. I understand it's gonna be a while, but it's there. And also, I understand there's a favor that we can't max out yet, because you can only get to, I think, like 50% by the time you hit the bracket requirement, which is going to take some time to get to. But once you get to that, that's going to help as well. And then also, we have another month to follow. I wonder what's going to come in the following months to help with this. I probably will just leave it at, hundreds of kills, right? I like to leave things at maximum grind.
Yeah, absolutely right.
There's more coming. That's going to absolutely help with that. And so it's the beginning. I understand that there's kind of the pain points to start. I totally get that. It's hard to avoid that at times, but we definitely want to help where we can. But there's a lot more coming, and I can't wait to see how this scales. I'm very excited to see how it scales.
All right. Thank you very much, Lost In, dropping some gifted subs and maybe feeling a little bit relieved to hear that you've got a plan down the road. And I am going to remind you guys, Divine says, look at Zindy, Pain, month 1. Look at Mirror Universe, Pain, month 1. Tiger, you are a guy that likes to just inflict maximum destruction and then be like, oh, guys, I got you. I got you guys.
Chance to blow you up. It's not 100% chance. Come on, give me a break.
So tools definitely coming. And some of those tools are already beginning to present themselves in away teams. Domen, I'd like to shift over to you just for a second, just to kind of keep you awake, because I don't want to. We've got more to talk about with these hostiles and the currencies and how it feeds the ATA loop. But with regards to these new assignments that you guys have designed, these new assignments are in fact meant to come back and feed into this loop by increasing officer progression, by increasing ship progression, and then of course increasing Fleet Commander Con progression through a grinder's path and through those skills and so forth with the conquest. D, if you were speaking to a player right now who has not, admittedly, have had a huge opportunity to invest in the ATAs because the augment grind is just now kind of booting up, what is it that players should be looking forward to first when they're starting to investigate and starting to play with these ATAs? Is there a place where players should be kind of leaning into this feature to begin with to give them maximum efficiency as they begin the ATA journey?
Oh, for sure. I think when it comes to P1 ATAs, first thing, it really depends on what your priorities are as a player right now. If you take a look at the Augment faction and everything that's in there, from all the officer gachas that we have to direct officer sourcing to the favors and everything, depending on what's important for you there, especially if those things are officers, you're going to see that the away team's research tree, the reworked version of it, is going to be playing directly into that hand. So if your interest is, hey, I really want to invest into officers, I would like to make sure that I unlock them sooner, that they are cheaper for me as a player, the away team's tree is something that you want to look at. And it has been designed with basically this in mind as the one of the core visions tied to the feature itself. It starts off very slowly, and this is something that's okay, it's expected. I would say don't feel like you have to rush in immediately and just push through everything. This feature is a consequence of basically us ignoring away teams for years. Now we're finally making it relevant, and we want it to be relevant not just in this month, but also after that. So this is a process. It's a long-term thing that we want you to engage with. We want you to come back here, every couple of days, depending on how you feel like in terms of should you be investing into speed ups and really push through it, or should you be investing into refresh tokens that you get like the best possible awaiting assignments. But yeah, basically kind of touching on that, like as you're going to be looking at the away team's research tree, you are going to see that it's going to start off fairly slowly. You're first going to have to unlock the P1 ATAs, and then you're going to have a couple of nodes that are going to be either upgrading your officer stats, because as you're going to be able to see, compared to the normal away team assignments, the priority 1 away team assignments are actually quite hard to complete, especially when it comes to getting the critical success. We see, just like from data right now, I can share it, that significantly more players end up failing this just because they're not meeting the criteria. You have to have much stronger officers. You have to have much better officer stats to be able to deal with those. And it's part of the challenge. It's part of the process and your growth as a player, someone who's investing into officers, to go through that, right? And then as you kind of go through that period, as you're able to do this consistently, as this becomes easier for you, this is where the gateway kind of opens for you to take a look at everything that comes after. And this means uncommon assignments, rare assignments, epic assignments, the special conquests that end up sourcing Khan and his skill points, and full officer unlocks. And then what's else in the research tree? To add to that, and then I'm gonna stop with my rambling. You end up having a whole bunch of either officer unlocks or officer cost efficiency unlocks, and this is where the loop.
That's a big one right there. That's impressively large. Sorry, I should have turned that off. My apologies. I'll turn that down for a second.
What the hell is
that? Yes, Domen. The research tree, impressively large value, obviously, is what they meant to say. One of the things that I'd like to pull out here as we're looking at this particular tree, all right, is specifically at the fact that you have officer stats up front here. Tactical aggression, which is attack. The hypo spray technology, which is your health. And rerouting to shields, this is your defense stat. I have noticed and remember, I don't know how many of you guys may or may not remember, when away teams assignments first came out, there was a lot of failure. A lot of people came out because, and actually, if you remember, Griffin, when they first came out, those features, same thing as you could now. This is not unexpected to me because you could not max those assignments then either. The biggest players in the game were unable to get 100% on their largest assignments. It took a while to grow into that. Domen, are you saying that this away team's research is absolutely necessary, especially the officer stats? It's going to be necessary in order to long-term be successful with the failure rate of ATAs. Is that why it's at the front of the tree?
Oh, for sure. It's a huge part of that. And we kind of try to play into this through some other things in terms of what we're introducing as well. So, for example, you can see that Khan himself, he also has a node where he significantly increases your officer stats, for example. So there are different things that are going to be playing into this entire thing. And we introduced a couple of new traits that are on the new officers, both in update 78 and 79, that are going to be feeding into this, so that we do end up having like some novelty kind of trickling in and giving players like a process to be able to acquire these things and basically build towards that. So yeah, for sure, it's like I said before at the very beginning, we ignored this feature for a very long time. Now is the time. This was the opportunity for us to be able to revitalize this, and we basically, and this is why this update is so huge, because we haven't even started talking about the away team store, but yeah, we wanted to make sure that if you're going to be revitalize it, we make sure that this is a long-term thing, something that players are going to be able to play around with for months to come, not just something that comes in 1 month and then becomes obsolete in the other.
Let me ask you this question regarding the away teams, because I see that people are talking about the stats and they understand and maybe appreciate the challenge of those, but these assignments are taking significantly longer. The original assignments started at 4 hours, and the biggest assignments in the game were 5 days. With these new assignments now, we are seeing the smallest group, I think, at 5 days, and the largest, which I don't know that anybody's unlocked now just yet, at 15 days. So are players meant to, and this is a very big question, Domen, are players meant to natively let the timer run out on these assignments, or is there a strategy with the speed ups? Should you start one of these assignments if you don't have the speed ups for it?
Sure. I mean, speed ups are always an option. Refresh tokens are always an option. We try to bring some more attention to these as we revitalize this entire thing. But it's going to be a process as these things end up piling up, right? So if you have one priority 1 away team slot, and that one is going to, you go on a mission and it's going to last for 4 days, 10 days, whatever. During this time, you're going to have the time to stockpile on some of those bundles that you're able to get in the Augment faction store, right? So like as you do that, you're slowly going to go into a loop where you're going to be able to afford to speed these things more often, where you're going to be able to refresh the away teams more often, and kind of optimize your way into what's like the best experience for you in terms of priority 1 away team assignments that you would like to see. So this is where it kind of starts, let's say the ball kind of starts rolling. This is where I think, from my perspective, when in the long term, we end up looking at the Wrath of Khan loop. Because like I do lurk on all the discourses that we have, both on yours and on other CC's discourse as well. I understand the current frustration and everything, feeling overwhelming and massive and all that. But I think in the long term, we're going to see that the way these things end up coming together is going to feel hopefully awesome and just like a very smooth, natural experience that's very nicely integrated in the game itself.
I want to add some details here too, if I could.
Yeah, please.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to know who to blame, who to point the guns at on the timer, point them at Tiger. So here's why. I want us to think about relative value for a second here. So if I spend 1 day on my existing assignment, I get the payout of that. Multiply that by 4 and then compare that to my 4-day assignment. What we're doing here is all relative value. And so, yes, it takes longer, but you're getting significantly more. Someone messaged you and told you that you had an assignment that was 10 days. I think the part that they forgot to mention to you is that you get a full officer unlock for that 10 days. Where else is that in the game? Right? And so basically the intention behind the time is that we wanted to give incredibly lucrative rewards. If we're going to revitalize away teams, we're going to revitalize away teams. We're going to give you something insane. And so to justify that, because let's be real, we can't just be handing out officer unlocks every 24 hours. Like that's so much. We have to put longer timers on it to justify. And so I really want to emphasize relative value. Yes, I understand that they're longer, but just look at what you're getting. And by the way, like there's other details in here too that like I spent a lot of time really considering. For example, there's no common rewards. There's no Latinum convertible rewards you're going to get from these assignments. They're always going to give you something that is special, something that you can't get for Latinum. So you're going to see only uncommons and above. You're going to see prime things. You're going to see like prime particles, for example, and you're going to see officers, like good officers, and a lot of shards for those. And so I'm hoping that that helps justify. I understand that there is going to be some pains of, adapting to the timer, and over time, I would imagine sourcing for speed ups and whatnot to become more prevalent in the game. There is going to be some growth there. But even now, even today, like, tell me that I'm wrong, but where do you compete in terms of time for output?
I don't disagree with that. I as far as the time and the value, totally on board with you there. I believe that, and again, this very well may be just the beginning of a classic Tiger art with the ramp up, right? The pain points that can experience that a player can experience with that ramp up, because there is not a bank of speed ups. There's not a stock of those. So any officers that we put on right now are getting tied up for, in my case here on my screen, 6 days. I've got Rom and and 6 of 11. Big stat officers. These are my big guys, right? Now, obviously, pointing out that I've only got 87% chance of success rate. I hate that.
But see, that's the answer to the question. That's what everybody is saying. I don't want to lose these officers for 10 days, for 15 days. And if the answer to that question is, but hold on a second, if you do, then you're going to get a wildly impressive, large amount of officer shards all the way up to an unlock. I mean, you all in the chat may feel completely differently. We're all entitled to our own opinion. But for me, that's a reasonable answer. It's all about investment and then reward for investment. And there are plenty of officers to where maybe you don't want to send BLT out for 10 days, but do you have somebody comparable that you're not using as much that you can afford to lose for 10 or 15 days? If that's what you're getting in return, I think that we really need to consider both ends of that equation rather than an alarming number that we're not used to, which is, 15 days I'm tying up this officer. What about that other alarming number on the other side of the equation, which is what you're going to get?
Yeah. I'll also point out that, and this might just be my experience here, but I have noticed that I've had a few days of the Sigma speed ups. Now, I think this is also super huge to point out. Griffin and I are G6 players, Mr. Tiger, so we're the ones in particular with the speed up concern because it's a whole new Sigma speed up. It's a whole new currency. But just in case players are missing it, if you're G5 and down, these assignments are using the traditional speed ups in which you may have a bank, right? Did you guys tinker with the idea of new speed ups for everybody? And why was it ultimately decided that G5 and down would be able to use the existing currency? Because I would imagine that's actually a blessing to G5 and down.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's a bit of a slap if you say to players, hey, you stockpiled these speed ups. Now you can't use them. Haha. The new cool stuff does nothing. Like, come on. I don't want to be that guy. Like, we want people to be having fun. We definitely do. And by the way, it's the same thing that even if you're G6 and you have to spend Sigma speed ups on your core assignments, the conquests always, the ones that give you full officer unlock, those always cost base speed ups. They don't cost Sigma even if you're a G6 level player. And so there is still something for even you to spend on. And oh, great, it's a 15-day assignment. I can speed through that because as a G6, you probably have the most stockpiled of those speed ups. So hey, there's still even something for them. And so where we did add speed ups, we didn't make it a complete block either. And we want to be involving old currencies. Here's something that the Tiger's learning, guys. I want to use more old currencies, even on the prime nodes. We tried to get away with some prime nodes that used old prime particles so that in the future, when we start sourcing that prime particle, those have a free-to-play path along with some of the other nodes, and it's a cool little package. And so we're trying to do more of that. I'm trying to do more of that, and hopefully it's noticeable.
So let me make sure that I'm coming back on that, because I heard something that I didn't realize. You're saying that G6 players who are using these new Sigma speedups will still have the opportunity to use traditional ATA speedups. Right now, I'm using the Sigmas for my normal assignments, but I will still have an opportunity to use that old stuff. It's not just a smackdown on G6 players. I still have an opportunity to use those at some point.
Yes. The conquest assignments, the ones that give you full officer unlocks and the ones that give you shards for Fleet Commander Con and skill points for Fleet Commander Con, all of those use the base speedups, not Sigma.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I
didn't know that either.
Yeah, those are the big ones, right? Aren't those like the 15-day assignments?
Yep, those are the 15-day and 10-day assignments. The longest one you'll get outside of those is 7 days if you get an epic base Sigma.
And now, if I may add, like this is where you can kind of imagine, like if you're gonna be actively claiming those bundles in the Augment faction store. Imagine once you have enough of those speed ups, that 10-day duration might not even matter because of that. Of course, you first have to get to the conquests themselves. You have to unlock them in the research tree, but still.
That's actually
the case of ramping up, right?
Yeah. That's actually interesting to point out. I'm not sure the players knew that. Divine says, all right, up to 7 days on an epic with the Sigma might be tough, but I'm going to remind you. All right, I don't need all the reminders, guys, that I'm not a real G6 player. Tiger, they make fun of me because I have squishy ships. Okay, guys.
How dare they?
Right? Okay, I'm an Op 67. At some point, I'm going to be a G6 player. All right. But I want to point out, because I think a lot of players might not have realized this, Tiger, that we will still be able to use those assignments or use those ATA speed ups, and they might end up actually being for some of our most valuable assignments with the conquest, the skill points, and the full officer unlocks. We'll still be able to circle back and use those. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
The other thing I want to draw attention to, I think I saw some comments on this in the chat. I know the, I guess, pain of pulling an epic assignment if you don't have the speed ups to speed through the 7 days. However, again, the ratios get better. So for an example, if I were to run a common G6 assignment that takes 4 days, the reward might be 1,000 Pioneer Crests. Okay? So that's 1,000 crests over 4 days. If I look at the epic ones that are 7 days, they actually are dropping 9,000 Pioneer Crests. So in terms of ratio, 1 to 9 in payouts versus 4 to 7 in time, it's way better still to get the epics. I understand that there's still a trade-off there, but it's way better. And looking at your screen here, you got lucky. This is a nice rare assignment you got there. So it's kind of juicy.
Yeah, I know. I did that, and that was actually something I was going to ask D about here in just a second, because I did find this rare assignment. It took me a couple to get to it because I used some of the speed ups that I had banked up over the last 48 hours. Unfortunately, then, when I got this one, I was out of those speed ups. I wasn't able to actually run through and finish this one. But I was able to get this thing started, and it was a 6-day assignment. I started it earlier today, but it has 5,000 crests in it instead of 1,000. That's if it doesn't fail. And you're absolutely right. But again, we're early, and I've done very little of this research. Now, one other thing that I want to point out, D, and I want to ask this question specifically of you. I kind of want to know if maybe I put the cart before the horse. I did my level 1s on these stat assignments because, to me, despite Scopely math, 70%, 80%, 90% is still better than 0%, right? I thought that I'd be willing to take a chance at 87% and think that the odds are in my favor as compared to not having that assignment at all. So I did these level 1s just to kind of skip through and unlock my uncommon assignments, and then skip through. I used all my Pioneer Crests just to unlock my rarity of assignments. Do you think that that is a viable strategy, or should players be loading up in the front here? Do you think that there's value in spending your Pioneer Crest to get the higher assignments despite the length and despite the shortage of stats?
Honestly, for me that's a tough question. Personally, I would invest into stats first.
Crap!
But this is my approach, right? I think what you're doing is fine. You're risking more. What I would do personally is I would invest into stats as much as possible, because you still have to remember when you go above 100%, you are able to reach multiplayer, and this is where you can get even more Pioneer's Crests and mats and everything else. So for me, I would first focus on the stats personally, and then as I have these guaranteed claims, I would kind of slowly move towards the different rarities. So I think what you're doing, you're undertaking more risks for rarer assignments.
Yeah, gambling.
But you could already be adding those multipliers up if you actually invested in the stats themselves.
I get it. So in other words, you're agreeing with the chat that I'm just a little bit squishy. Thanks a lot, D. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. All right.
Shout out to everyone. And guess what? If you get Con, all you need is to get Con, rank him up with those. We got stacks of skill points, don't we, everyone? And an XP to rank these guys up. Take them to level 100, get all those free gift skill points, rank up that officer stat. 1,250%. That's going to boost you.
Are you kidding me right now? Are you?
Nope. What are we doing, people, if we're not ranking up Con? Come on.
All right, so we're going to have to talk
I can't buy Con. I'm not allowed to until June.
I'm going to ask your mom.
Oh, my God.
It's not about my mom, Tiger.
He is a listener of the show. He knows what's going on over here. Just ask your mom to buy it for you. All right? There you go. Love it very, very much. All right, Tiger. Let me come back to you on some more of this loop, the currencies. So we now are grinding the hostels. We're getting the 4 different kinds of loot, and we're coming in. We're hitting these hijacked exchange. Now, once we get these credits, we're earning the reputation as well. That's going to open up the other items in this store. What's next, though? Because there's other stuff besides just the ciphers. I'm seeing these things that are coming out of the hostel chest. I'm seeing badges and all this other stuff. Walk me through, if you can, a top-down walkthrough of the currencies that you've introduced and what they are used for and their order of importance.
Question. So there is a lot of currencies, but less than I do historically, which is hopefully good, trending in the right direction. So think of it as not 4 currencies, but 1. There is a faction credit that has 4 rarities. So that means there's hostiles that have 4 rarities of this loot, and that loot exchanges into 4 rarities of credits. All those credits are basically used in the same way, just in different flavors. And so every single credit has an officer chest associated with it, which you can rank up. And we did something kind of new and different here, where the outputs of those chests are actually based on how many officers you've already ranked up. So the more you invest in your officers, the better payouts your officer chests get. And there's 1 of those chests per credit currency. So there's a common one, there's an uncommon one, there's a rare, and there's an epic. Each one has specific associated crews, and the higher the rarity, the more modern the crew. And I think modern officers are generally better for most players, and so you want to go for that. However, if you don't have PMC, that is in the common chest, and I think that's probably one of the best crews for a new player, and that's one of the best sources for them that's going to give you shards. So definitely look at those chests. Along the way, there's also a couple other goodies. Like one of the philosophies applied in the faction store here is very much focused on accelerating primarily officers, but just players' games. And so you'll see things like the projectiles that maybe you haven't seen sourcing for before. Maybe you missed it in an event. Maybe it was never in an event. And so you can use your uncommon currency to get those projectiles. Then, in addition to the officers, of course. And then we also have some forbidden texts and some artifacts for epic and rare credits that are in the store there. And those ones actually have pretty low cooldowns. You can claim quite a few of them if you do manage to stack up the credits. I believe some of those are 8 hours. Some of those might even be 4 hours. So you can kind of stack those pretty quick and hopefully help with accelerating your game. And then we kind of move on to some, I guess, special things that I thought were just meaningful. So one of them is a bit of like a lore thing. It's the Ferengi exchange. Rather than having like the Ferengi officers just in a gacha with everyone else, I kind of took some Latinum and I took some emblems, and I took the Ferengi whip is in here too, by the way, if you don't already have it. Because you already have it, it's not going to show. But if you don't have it, this is also where the Ferengi whip is. It's just like a little fun Ferengi exchange with some Latinum and the Ferengi officers. So that's going to be really good, especially for progressing players who need the Ferengi whip. And then we move into some of the cool stretch goal items. So a couple cosmetics there. Also, we put Joaquim in there as a free full unlock when you get to the superior bracket. So as you're progressing through your faction, at some point we just say, hey, here's a free epic officer that's new and fresh and different. And by the way, another detail on Joaquim that is, I think, really cool. He's the first epic that I think maybe ever requires way less shards to upgrade. And so once you get to that bracket and you're progressing with a faction, the philosophy here was kind of you're building affinity with Joaquim as well, and you're kind of participating in Khan's dominance. And so you'll be able to unlock him fully for free, just as a free claim there. And then you'll be able to progress his shards as well by doing conquests and various other side missions that we have available, which we can talk about, by the way, because the champion thing is a whole little bonus side loop. And so we kind of move from all the credit exchanges into kind of some of the more detail and fun and stretch goal side loop things. So these aren't really part of the core experience. They're just nice to haves that reward you once you get to a certain level.
Let me back up and make sure that players heard this piece right, because this is something that is somewhat unprecedented. You're referring to this bundle. If you guys are in podcast form, you're inside your Augment store, and a couple of rows down next to Joaquim Affinity, you see Joaquim Recruit. This shows 50 shards, but it is labeled as a full unlock that unlocks at the superior reputation band. You're saying that this is a full unlock, 50 shards unlocks that officer, and it's absolutely free. Is it going to have a credit cost, or is this one of the just like a claim bundle?
Double check it right now to make sure I'm not saying false information, but I believe I made that either completely free or it costs a little bit of affinity for Joaquin, which you're going to get from the side loop by defeating champions. So I'm going to check that. But it's functionally free. It's not like, oh, you get to this point and now pull out the credit card. It's more of, hey, you progress the augment faction to a certain point. Congratulations. I want to give you an epic officer because I like you and I'm glad you're playing my content.
Oh, that's so
That's
nice.
wonderful.
Look at that. All right, and taking a look at Joaquin, he's not exactly an officer that nobody is ever going to use. As a matter of fact, I might have to do a call out here very quickly to Hammy. See, Hammy's been in your ear, Mr. Tiger. This is essentially a minor strike team. And he claims that he's been angling for this for many, many months. This is an officer that's going to increase your apex barrier when attacked by a player while on a survey ship. I mean, this is strike team.
That is Hammy strike team.
This is strike team for minors. What the heck is this, man? All right, you and Hammy got together on this, didn't you?
Absolutely. Of course. Who doesn't love a good Hammy? By the way, I love Hammy's Discord name. If you haven't seen it, oh, that's so good. Definitely check it out. So when it comes to the intention behind this, I think that it needs to be said there's a lot more work to be done than just this ability. This is the beginning. That's kind of the way I see it. We need a lot more power on surveys to make them even make a scratch. Surveys are kind of bad. And it's going to take a lot more than just one ability to fix that. And so if Joaquin is a start in that direction, we have a couple stats also on Fleet Commander Khan that are going to help in that direction. And I really hope that we continue to push for this in the future and make there be fun, interesting trap crews on surveys and just an interesting new dynamic to PvP. I personally, this is anecdotal, but I'm sick and tired of getting hit OPC in my server all the time. Zero repercussions, nothing I can do. Like that's not. Sometimes even when I have the automated defenses on back in the day, people just ignore it and go for it. Like we need to be having more interesting dynamics in our combat, and I think that bringing something new to surveys is a step in that direction, and I want us to continue that and explore that.
You know, you could just remove that little symbol and watch people's warships go boom when they hit a miner.
I agree. Get rid of that
I'm a big
symbol.
proponent of strategy, though. We need strategy. I think we need some kind of hybrid there.
Very good. Let's fast forward because we are running down on our time. You had mentioned this side loop, and I want to explain. I want to learn about Khan's champion because this is very, very unique. When I was reading from Jules about how you guys had built this. This seemed to be one of the most unique things about this loop. If players are tuned in and they're looking at Khan's champion, these 5 different levels, you refer to this as a side loop. Can you explain this? Can you teach on this?
Let's talk about it. So number one, it's going to be a while before we get here because it does unlock a superior bracket. But when you do get to the superior bracket, the way that it works is, you've all seen it if you've been playing the new loop. Whenever you hit the new reds, you're going to open up that chest afterward, and you're going to get these champion trophies. Okay? So you've been collecting these the whole time. So by the time this actually becomes available to you, I would imagine you have a nice little stockpile. These missions you're seeing here in the faction store, you are allowed to have one of each type active at a time. So right now we're looking at the cadet. Great. You can have one of these active. You can have one of the other one. You can have one of each difficulty if you want. And the idea is the harder the difficulty, the better the reward. It does cost more of the champion trophies to activate the higher ones, but again, comes back to ratio. In terms of how much spent versus how much rewarded, you get way more for doing harder difficulty. So think of it almost as a mini Q's trials. This is Khan's trials, all right? You're coming into Khan's world now. And so the way that this works, you pick the difficulty you want, you activate the mission, that will spawn a mission hostile near your station, just like it would, actually even better than Q's Trials, because Q's Trials is within systems around your station. This is going to be always in the same system as your station. So it's right by your station, it's a really powerful hostile, and you go 1v1 and you got to defeat this hostile. If you're successful, great, you get the reward. If you fail, that's okay. The mission stays active. You can come back to it whenever you build up the power for it, whenever, or you can activate one of the lower missions and do that one while you wait. This isn't ever lost until you complete it, and then you can reactivate it again. So you can only ever have one active. Once you complete it, you can activate another one, and it's how you get the currency to claim. There's 2 chests if you go back in the faction store. There's 2 chests you'll see here. in the faction that are enabled champion chests, I believe. Champion con unlock and champion con upgrade with the diamonds on it, because diamonds are awesome. And this is basically your path to getting Joachim Affinity, and that's how you would unlock him, and that's also how you would get him for free. So by hitting these champions, again, there's no payment required. All you have to do is be hitting difficult hostels. As you hit them, you get these currencies, which is going to progress your faction. It's going to progress Khan. It's going to progress Joachim as well. All that for free. And in the away teams, the new expansion for the Priority 1 away teams research, all the research nodes at a certain point will start to cost the champion currency. And that champion currency is the one that you get from defeating the missions as a mission reward. And so not only is it good for Khan and all the faction stuff here that we talked about, but it's also going to be good for all that research there as well, which is going to be really good for your account.
We're referring to insignias is what you're saying. So the research is going to end up pulling insignias. Guys, for those of you in podcast, 8:55 p.m. Eastern Time is the timestamp where you'll see a little bit of a chart here presented by Jules Verne, which breaks down the cost and these 5 different levels of mission that Mr. Tiger is talking about, and the bosses that are going to come as a result. Looks like we've already had somebody just loving the content, Mr. Tiger, as they push through. We've seen all 5 of these hostels now, and the rewards of these insignias that are then going to be used back in not only the faction store for the skill points and the Joachim upgrade currency, but you're saying now also the research as well, correct?
Exactly. I'm shocked that someone was able to get through it that fast. That's incredible. What are they doing?
Oh, well,
Tell me that strategy, dude. I don't even think you can spend on that. I think you have to grind hostels.
I think you can. I don't think you can buy the reputation. I do think people are out there grinding. I have seen that there are some mega grinders out there. Some people, look, Shelby right now says, I just made Superior today. You're 48 hours in. Isn't Superior, Superior 60 million rep? Now, I want to come back to that point right here, Shelby, because this is a question that I actually had in my list, and I would like to ask it of you, Mr. Tiger. And then, D, I've got one more for you before we have to get ready to go. This loop appears to be 100% grindable. It has been since the days of Franklin that there was no time gates on anything. Even the reputation, although small, is completely grindable. You get big chunks through the store that have cooldowns on those bundles, but every hostel you hit has the ability to boost that up. This, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tiger, and I am looking for the community to call out if there's anything wrong on this, if I state anything incorrectly, but this, to me, looks like a 100% grindable arc, where all content that is in the store with the reputation, there's no real time locks here, which kind of makes that like an instant win to me, because players can progress however they want. They can spend money to skip grind, but there are players out there that have already ground out 60 million rep. I mean, they're killing hostels like crazy, you know? When you're looking at some of the previous arcs throughout the game, this one would be unique in the fact that it's not time-gated in nearly any way, shape, or form. Is this an experiment, or can we look forward to more of this?
Or was it a boo-boo?
Shush.
It's intentional. It's intentional. And by the way, I don't think we're fully free of gates. They're lessened, and I like to explore lessened gates. Although I think that there's an ethical question there of how much we should be enabling people to just grind infinitely, because some people will just go all in. So that's kind of a tension that I often think through of how much should I allow someone in a single day? Should I allow them to spend every waking moment grinding hostels? And it turns out some people must be, because that's insane to get 60 million rep this fast. I'm genuinely shocked at that. But when it comes to gates, you do still see that on the refinery. And so while you can grind out the faction, you can't grind out all the credits right away, and that is going to take a bit more time. My personal stance, and this is not like a truism for everything we do on Star Trek, but my personal stance is that factions should very much reward you playing the game and be assigned. I think that's what factions originally were before, like, they got added into a lot of different places in the game. But originally it was like a status almost of, hey, I got to this bracket in the faction because I'm just good. I'm hitting hostiles. I'm crewing properly. I'm finding the best ways to get rep, and I got here myself. And I kind of like that. I try to bring that back a little bit here so that we reward people for playing the game that they love, hopefully. And that's what you see with the rep. And now there are still some gates, and I do want to be ethical about it and not just allow for infinite, but that's some of the reasoning behind it. And will we see more of it? I sure hope so. As long as people aren't saying, this is terrible, we don't want to see this, you're probably going to see more of it. I want to make a fun game.
You know,
I love that answer.
Yeah, it is a great answer. And I do chuckle sometimes because you can't make everybody happy. We have had people talking about the grind. We've had people talking about the events specifically, which are not necessarily reflective of the arc. Just the events themselves have high milestones. But then when you turn that coin around and you look at the fact that, hey, you can pretty much infinitely grind. And I say infinitely up to your hostile cap, but you can get more out of this arc by grinding more, which is very unusual in Star Trek Fleet Command. So I think that is an absolute wonderful thing. When we take a look back in the store, I have one mathematical question for you very quickly. When we take a look at the cost of a lot of these chests, for example, in the Epic Wrath contents, you've got a single chest pull at 40 credits. In the rare, single chest pull, 100 credits. These look to be very, very inexpensive compared to a lot of the other items that may be in the store. But even then, you look at the Ferengi, it's 120 credits. These look very obtainable, as if you are designing that players can have a few of these every single day. Maybe not all of them, but they'll be able to come in and choose multiple items per day. On the other hand, we see, and again, I don't mean to harp on these favors requiring multiple tens of thousands of credits. Is that the right mathematical design? Because again, it really does kind of discourage the chasing of favors in such a way that just their cost. I mean, I could pull 30 officer chests by the time I unlock one level of a favor. Caledon says there's 31,000 common credits required for just level ones of all these favors. Is that
wow? Was
that intended compared to a 25 credit cost?
So here's the logic behind it. Think of the favors as your permanent progression. Once you finish it, you're done. You never have to do it again. And the buffs that you get from those are pretty good buffs. Like if you look through the percents you're getting there, I don't know that there's anywhere else in the game that rivals some of those, especially for the G6 level ones. I think I said that at the start. Like it's really good. So I understand that it's a long form thing to work on, but that's exactly the intention. It's a long form. So basically you're going to have this choice moment. I like choice. Number one, do I go for the instant gratification of I get these cool things in terms of the officers and other things that are going to help me progress? Or do I save and go for these long-term things that I progress? Or do I do something in the middle where I'm slowly saving a little bit and I'm buying here and there and I'm saving a little bit and I'm spending on the chests here and there? And players are going to have to decide what's going to work best for them. That's the intention. The other thing I'll say is that this grind and the credit sourcing is going to get a whole heck of a lot better. So I understand that right now, there's definitely more difficult choices to be had. In the future, it's not going to be on the same level as we scale into it. And as that 2 roll it's not a stretch goal, it's just a normal thing. And in general, there's more sources of that credit currency and enhancements to that credit currency. And so give it some time, but that's kind of the intention, is that you have that choice of do I go permanent or do I go now?
Okay, very good. Griffin, go ahead. So you were getting ready to make a comment.
It's a mind mess up for us, Tiger, because we are always programmed to say, well, it's the officers that are forever and the permanent, step up. So when we see the value of the officer being this and the value of the favor being that,
yeah.
But you're exactly right. It just elongates, what we're trying to accomplish. But again, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. In the case of some of your favors, I do agree with you that is the case.
Taking a quick peek back in here, I want to also point out these 5 officers, the Anorak's Choice, DeMarco Choice, Janeway Choice, Hugh Choice, and Suitor Choice. These are, at least 4 of these are remarkable officers, and really Suitor's is up there as well. You just got a rare there with the other 4 epics, but DeMarco, has been in desperate need of better sourcing. Anorax, we've talked about how amazing this guy is. And just so players are clear on how you earn these shards, these are these choice tokens that also come in the officer pools. So I think it's also a little bit of an extra carrot that's been dangled, because you could spend your credits on as little as the common recruit chest. And in that common recruit chest comes these Wrath choice tokens. So, for example, we take a look in let's say you pull this thing every day. All right. Not only are you getting the officers that exist within this bundle, but you're also pulling extra Wrath choice tokens, which are equivalent to 1 shard per 100. You know, so on top of the officers that you're earning out of that bundle, players have to also acknowledge, Tiger, they're basically getting a free epic shard, and in some cases, 2 free epic shards
per 100, by the way.
2 shards per 100.
Yeah,
that's right. I see that there. Yep.
It depends on the ones. In fact, Janeway and Hugh, I thought, they're a bit older now. Let's make them cheaper. And so Janeway and Hugh are actually 25 shards per pull as well.
Oh wow!
If you have them, you won't see some. Yeah, there you go. And so if you actually work out the math behind this, if anyone's curious, if you're doing a single pull in all your 4 different officer claims every single day, that's going to allow you to get 10 rare officer shards of your choice every day, or 5 of the of Anorax or DeMarco. And so you can choose. If you're doing double pulls, which at some point I fully plan for players to do double pulls, that's going to give you 500 choice tokens every day, which is 20 rare shards or 10 epic shards of your choice. Wow. Again, comes back to choice. I very much want, like, we always do officer gotchas in our game where you pull random shards. This is one of the first times, at least, I have done a gotcha where not only do you get the random shards, but we're giving you some choice tokens as well. And that's what, in my opinion, makes this one of the best sources of officers. And I can't wait to see where this goes. And we're doing more. We got more plans to do even more with officers coming, because who doesn't want filling out their officer roster? Come on, we need
absolutely.
That. It takes so long.
Just as a quick side note here, and I know, Beck, we're out of time. You guys are incredible. I do want to point out these guys have been working nearly almost 20 hours a day is what I've been told for the last several days, even before the art started.
Domen right now. Hey,
yeah, I know. D, you've been amazing. Jules has calculated, Tiger, just to kind of put a cap on your segment here. Jules has calculated that by the time players get into the full swing of this loop, players could actually earn up to 80 shards per day. 80 shards per day through this loop. And that's obviously with full engagement, maximum pull, really engaged. And as Tiger is saying, it is going to be possible to get through, is going to be possible to get to that point very, very soon. 80 shards a day, which I think is absolutely incredible. D, final question for you, and thank you so very much for being here. As we are coming in, we talked about this affinity, the Joachim affinity, and Tiger mentions that this is going to become important in the away team's research tree. And I know you mentioned a few moments ago that you wanted to talk just for a moment about the away team store. So let's, as we get ready to wrap up here, let's talk about your choice. Would you like to go into a little bit more analytical detail and give players some hints into the research tree, which I know we've already kind of touched on with regards to the affinity? Or would you like to educate players on the changes that you've made in the ATA store, which might be a better way to go? We haven't touched on that yet, D.
Sure. Yeah, let me first just correct you a little bit. It's not affinity that we are using in the highest levels.
That's right.
It's
the emblems. Insignias.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, my fault. The affinity is for leveling the officer up. It's the insignias from the cons challenges. Gotcha. Okay.
And by the way, I don't know how you want to think about it, but for me, affinity, ever since we went for it, I just consider it like the first romance mode in stfc. So there's that for me. So you can do that with Joachim. But yeah, on a serious note, when it comes to using that currency in the research tree, just to kind of mention what Tiger was mentioning before as well, this is basically your gateway into really maxing out those nodes and getting those highest values, which are just like massive and super valuable. And this means Apex Shred, I think we have ISO defense, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But yeah, I would say I can totally jump in and mention some stuff about the away team store. There's a lot of stuff there. I think it's not something that's going to be prioritized by players initially because first there's this massive loop that everyone is looking at right now. The Augment faction store with so many things in there. And then you have priority one away team assignments and its research tree. And then on the side, you have the store itself for the away teams. But yeah, there's some cool stuff in there, right? With us revitalizing the away teams feature, we have been given the chance to finally introduce G5 and G6 ship blueprint sourcing. So that's finally in there. And we also took the opportunity to just expedite the acquisition of these blueprints for G3 and G4 as well. So right now, even though you can go back and claim the, let's say, legacy away teams blueprints for the ships, you can also get extra by just engaging with the priority one away team assignments on top of it all. And then on top, like on the side of this entire thing, yeah, we have some faction-oriented mega claims that are going to have credits, reputation points, recruit tokens, all the juicy stuff in there that you can get tied to those particular factions. We have a special conquest champion claim, which is something that you have to unlock in the away team's research tree first. It's something that's going to give you more pioneer's crests. It's going to give you some epic officer shards, some prime research currency, and yeah, stuff like that. And one thing that we also have that is kind of minor, but I think players are going to appreciate is we have the standard assignment booster. So for everyone who is, and this is something that kind of comes into play for players who are in lower grades, but as long as you do priority 108 team assignments from Ops 26 and higher, you can do this claim as well, and it's just going to help you out in terms of getting speed ups and in terms of just progressing faster through the legacy away teams research tree. And we also have one Armada and Armory claim. And that one is just first focused around the Armada Center and progressing with that one. But we kind of squeezed in the Armory currency as well. It was like we had some discussions on Discord, and some players requested it. So we're like, yeah, let's just throw it in because why not? It's going to be cool. And we've been super stingy for some reason with sourcing that currency. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. I think as players kind of explore this, as they get more and more pioneers crests and actually have the ability to invest them into the away team store as opposed to the research tree, there's going to be some very, very cool stuff in there.
I love that, and I really appreciate that. Beck says that I can get one more question from you, D. She said, listen, he has been a machine for the last 6 weeks and needs no sleep. So if you want to hang out, but no, in all seriousness, as we get ready to wrap up, and I know the community has been somewhat polarized, but I see a lot of positivity in the chat when it comes down to the design. So let me ask this, and I am Risk Breaker. They're getting ready to go. Yeah, Beck, I'm going to ask one more question because I think this is a fun, unique design. And I know these guys have worked together and worked very, very hard on putting this stuff. So, D, let me start with you. What is your favorite piece? All right, this might be a weird question, but from the community's perspective, but what is your favorite piece of this arc, Domen? And is there a piece of this yet that you think players have not yet discovered? Like, is there still a surprise around the turn?
I mean, I'm sure that as we go deeper, there's going to be more stuff that we see, and players are going to learn more about the loop and be able to optimize it better and stuff like that. I think that's okay. For me, I'm going to give you like a very maybe I'm not even gonna to some extent answer your question. For me, what's the highlight here and what's the most important thing is just our approach that we've had internally as a team. So as we were discussing priority one away teams, the augment faction store, the value in there, the loop itself, all of that is like, this is design territory. This is Mr. Steiger's biggest strength. He's amazing, and he's been absolutely awesome to work with during this entire time. I feel insanely humbled to have been given the chance to work with him in this capacity. I have learned so much from him just in terms of his approach to things. But for me, what's let's say from when you compare like his position versus my position in the at Scopely, basically, for me the biggest thing is like the overall big picture and the vision towards which we're working towards. And with Wrath of Khan arc, even though that yes, there has been we've had technical issues, especially like right now with IS and stuff like that. There's been difficulties, I'll say. But in terms of what we have in this arc, the actual structure, the balance between the content that we're offering, so between yes, offering a new loop, but then we're also revitalizing so much new content and adding value behind it and refreshing it and making it relevant again, to looking into like all the quality of life improvements. And some of them, they've been hit or miss. There's also been some bugs. I will admit that definitely. But for me, it's just like this big picture, the vision of us actually taking both, let's say, both the quality of life aspects and the usual things you'd expect from the loop, bringing everything from the loops, bringing everything together into like one coherent vision where we are just building towards goals that are not just about, hey, let's introduce more and more and more and more new content specifically, but like balancing things out and just having an experience and let's say a update structure where there's enough room for everything. That's probably like the most important thing for me in this arc. And I think that after all this time that we've invested in building this arc, like I said before at the beginning, even though right now, yes, there is some frustration in terms of the loop being grindy and being challenging, and some players struggling with the reputation and figuring those things out. I think that's great. I think in the long term, the Wrath of Khan arc, in spite of its rough start, it's gonna be considered as one of the best arcs in STFC for quite a while.
I hope you're right. I think that it definitely has the makings of being that, and largely due to the efforts by you and your partner, Mr. Tiger, who has designed some very creative and some very player friendly and rewarding arcs, despite the fact that Mr. Tiger loves that ramp up period. He loves a little bit of strife there in the beginning, and then coming in and making it just this holistic, providing, like, as we get ready to wrap up, Mr. Tiger, you're very good at providing that bow at the end. What is your favorite piece about what we have introduced in the game here so far? And is there something that players are not yet capitalizing on that is around the turn?
Yeah, great question. And before I answer that, I want to say here's a little tidbit of information on the away team store, because I couldn't stop thinking about this. And I think we need to talk about it. In that store, the costs or the ops requirement to claim those blueprints is currently at ops. That's not okay. We're gonna drop that.
Yes.
We need to make a in advance.
Yes.
Come on. We gotta fix that. Okay. Anyway, that was just on my mind. Like, I meant to fix this, but for some reason, I think I clicked the wrong button and put the thing in the wrong spot. So fix coming soon to a game near you. Anyway, for the arc itself and what we're working on here, I would have to echo what Domen said there. Wow, like it's been so rewarding to see a package deal come together here. And I think to me, that's the thing that's exciting, is that I understand that there's going to be growing pain points in different parts of the loop, but it's all connected. And we tried to showcase this through one of our narrative missions, and that's totally on me that like it was too hard. The champion chest doesn't become available until a later bracket, and so players did get stuck there. But the idea of that mission is exactly what gets me excited about this arc. You start with the hostiles. You destroy those. You go to the faction. You claim there. You get your away assignments. You go there. You get your currency. You go to the research tree. You get con. It's all a package deal. And I just love when like the story comes together like this. And now we add on the incredible teammates I get to work with from the narrative side that just make it feel con-like, and everything's con. It's a conquest. It's Joachim. You get to build affinity with Joachim, and even the super weapon that implodes your core. It's all Trekkie. It's all thematic. It all fits. And every single person I get to work with, I'm blessed to work with on my team, is running at maximum power. Like, shout out to Domen. For me, it's easy. It's 6:30. For him, it's in the wee hours of the morning. But
it's
here
3:30 in the morning for him right now.
Exactly. You know how inspiring.
Well, shout out to both of you for also providing us with all the information you did pre-Arcfall, so we could really spend time teaching and educating right out of the gate. That was a huge improvement this month around. I want to say thank you to both of you for that.
Oh, absolutely.
And let's keep doing that. Like, you're welcome, and like, thank you for being involved in it. Like, I love these chats. One of the most rewarding things to me about working in games is working with incredibly competent people to make incredibly fun experiences, and then sitting down with the people playing it and watching them strategize, watching them talk, listening to their feedback. Like, when people have negative sentiment, it's not an attack on me. It's an opportunity to do something different. I'm always going to throw a little curveball in there. There's always going to be some pains. You're never going to please everyone, but I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn from all of you, and I love that. And so it's an addictive thing, and it's just so rewarding to see my teammates' hard work pay off. And so that's kind of the thing for me. Keep playing the Arc. You'll scale into it. There's a ton more to come. Definitely want to mention, keep an eye on those revenge hostiles. Wink, wink. It would be cool if that super weapon would be turned off when I could auto grind. We'll see how that goes. But that's where I'll leave it. That's what I'm excited about, to see how this can scale. This is the beginning.
Well, we appreciate.
I've seen some comments. I've just seen some comments about events and everything. We are gonna have some Q&As. I think we have one on Friday, and then we have one on the official Discord on Monday already. I'm gonna try to get the live ops team included in that as well, so that you're able to jump in there, ask questions about events as well, and that we can just make sure that your feedback on that front is also heard. Because like, I resonate with your feedback about some of these events being too difficult. There's always a balancing curve there where, you know, you kind of have to try out the initial version, and then you see, players are struggling. Let's lower the difficulty. So just want to make sure that, like, as you've been making comments in the chat, I've been reading those as well. I'm sorry you cannot address events right now, but I will convey that feedback to the team as well.
I really appreciate that, Domen, because obviously there is a clear separation of what you guys built, and I know, and our community knows that the live ops team, the ones who write the events, they are in communication with you, but at the same time that you guys are building, they don't have the ability to play either. So these hostels coming out where they are very challenging, which I know a lot of players like. A lot of players like a challenging hostel, but then the metrics, it throws off the metrics for how many we were supposed to be able to hit. And then if we're having to hit down, the loot doesn't necessarily equal the loot table. So I know that is definitely being discussed, but I know that is more on the event side of things. So I appreciate you addressing it to our audience. Thank you, both of you. You guys are incredible. You're both heroes. Thank you, especially Domen for being here in the middle of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, from Scopely's Game Design here for Star Trek Fleet Command, the authors of The Wrath of Khan and the Augment expansion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Domen and Mr. Tiger. Thank you guys very, very much. Appreciate you guys very much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so very much. You guys have a wonderful evening. Domen, go get some sleep. Good night, y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, get some sleep, a couple of hours, because you're back at it in like 4 hours. All right.
All right, I'm back to grinding.
You know,
Cheers.
it's funny.
Yeah. He's going to go complete his SMS now.
Domen's 20-hour workday is longer than your 24-hour live stream, DJ. How does that work?
I know. It's absolutely wild. So thank you guys so very much. I appreciate that. You guys have a wonderful evening. Ladies and gentlemen, he was talking just a moment ago, Mr. Tiger, was talking about loving the tools, loving the interaction that the community comes together with. And of course, here on this stage, we have our very own mad scientist. We have the leader of the Talking Trek Laboratory, where we've got Jules Matters, Wham, we've got Muffins, we've got Magoo. We've got all of these amazing minds in this game that are sitting here waiting to do their thing and we're going to hop straight on over to them. Tarpy, how are we doing on? Yeah, we're doing good on time here. So let's go ahead and jump straight in. We've got Jules Verne on the stage, and I just want to, in case Tiger is watching on stream, these are some of the tools that get built by the community. These are some of the tools that the data comes in and supplies our lab with the opportunity to put together all this stuff. This is the culmination of Jules and his lab done in the last 48 hours. All these different charts and so forth. And for those of you looking to gain access to these charts, it is available in our graphics room. Actually, just from a day or two ago, I guess, from Tuesday night, I'll pop this right back down into the graphics room again. For those of you in podcast form at a timestamp of 9:26 p.m. Eastern time in the graphics room, so you can find a link to that Google form and be able to see some of this. Jules, an amazing interview there, a nice discussion. Wish we could have had a lot more time, and I really, really am very glad that that Tiger brought up the store there at the very end, because I was out of time. It was on my list. Okay, I promise, community, it was on my list. We were just out of time, and let me tell you, okay, Beck was in my ear. Okay, like I even asked, can I get one more question? And it no. All right, no.
Ask? You made up the fact that she told you that you could.
No, I did not. I've got the mess.
You did.
No. All right, maybe just a tiny little bit, but yeah, we were over our time. She started sending me messages 24 minutes ago. It was like, hey, I'm gonna. We promised to stick to an hour, guys. See, I feel like Beck does that knowing that there is such a thing as DJ standard time. All right.
No, you are literally just stepping over your original agreement, but that's okay.
Well, it was amazing information, and I'm super glad. I'm very, very happy that he brought up that away team storm. Tarpy, I know that that's something you've been talking about. Jules, you've been talking about that. For our audience who might just be tuning in, recap that, because we glazed over it really quick, and I saw a lot of people in the chat saying, holy smokes, what was that announcement? I missed it. I hear the cheering. What was the announcement? Jules, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but Mr. Tiger developed, it released very, very good information on the new expanded away teams assignments store that a lot of people have been talking about for the last 48 hours.
Yeah, the big thing that we were kind of observing is the priority ship BP options. This is in your away team store. This allows you to get access to blueprints. Well, the legacy version gave you blueprints at -2 ops from the shipyard it took to build and 60% of the rep. Well, it seems like the priority ship is only available when you are the ops that your ship needs to be to build. So you will not be seeing anything ahead of the time where you actually want to build it. However, there's also no rep requirements. So does that make it useful if you are already, say, Op 66 and you've already built your ship because you are Op 66 and you wanted to build it right away? Then it's not going to be helpful to have this slow drip added. You need something that needs to be before your ops so you can start preparing for that moment to actually build that ship.
And that was feedback given pretty much from the very, very beginning, from Tuesday night. Jules, when you broke that information on our stream, it felt a little bit interesting. You know, we even maybe tried to draw a comparison to what you might be able to do with the faction credits, and it just wasn't there. You know, the math wasn't there. So yeah, that's right, Thumbelina. Tiger said it is being changed, and that's what we were just talking about. We were talking about what it is now and why it was very, very good that he brought that up, because that has been a big piece of feedback from this scientific community. Is by the time you get to an ops level, most of you have been preparing for a long time. You know, at least those in this community have been preparing for a long time. Look what Putz did on the stream here 2 weeks ago. He hit Op 60 and built 3 ships on the same day. You know, so Jules, there absolutely is a need for these to open up a few ops levels earlier. The legacy store is 2, but given the number and the expense of these blueprints, I would probably suggest it needs to be 4 or 5. with these new ships, just given how expensive and how much time it'll take. Either that or maybe reducing the cooldowns. You know, he did mention, which I don't know that we've run into yet, but he did mention that there were some bundles in the Augment store, Jules, that have cooldowns that are less than a day. He had specifically mentioned some of these bundles having 8-hour cooldowns, right?
Right. So Dry Dock G has a 8-hour cooldown. Katinga Scale Replica has 8-hour cooldowns. Some of the other ones that you get with Epic Wrath, so the Book of Coast Amajan is 8 hours. The Glavin is 8 hours. And by the way, the Glavin is one of those that once you unlock it, you can actually max it using your Temporal Disruptors. So once you get to that point, an 8-hour cooldown on that is real good in order to kind of get that thing up to speed. Additionally, the Joachim Affinity, that chest that allows you to get more affinity and some extra reputation for spending some common wrath, that one is a 4-hour cooldown.
Wow.
Which is real low. So you can be pulling that a few times every day pretty consistently, which is good because the affinity is what you need to not only unlock and tier up Joachim, but it's also the cost in when you actually go to tier him. He does not cost faction credits. He does not cost badges. He only costs affinity, and you need quite a bit of it in order to fully max him. Even though the shard count is low, you do need a lot of affinity in order to max him.
So what we're looking at here and what he had talked about was being able to pretty much get an immediate tier 1 unlock of this thing once you hit the superior rep, which is going to give you the Joachim officer. And at that point, you pretty much definitely want to be starting to pull your Joachim affinity and starting to amass that. And there are a couple of different places where you can earn that. Obviously, you got the Joachim affinity in that bundle, but then you're also there was another place that I believe you were getting. Yeah, you're getting Joachim affinity in the champion chest as well. So not only are you getting con skill points and the reputation, as it will still, if it's still needed at that point, but also earning nice amounts of Joachim affinity in the champion chest as well. And again, the champion chest being a result of what Tiger describes as the side loop from engaging in these 5 hostiles. We had this up on screen just a couple of moments ago. Jules, let me pull this back up here. When we were talking about Khan's Champion, these missions, this is something we didn't spend a great deal of time on Tuesday, and absolutely incredible that somebody has been able to supply you this data already. Are there some analytics on this? I know that you had mentioned the biggest thing to be aware of is not necessarily being concerned with their size, but being concerned with crew. These are not hostiles as we know them. They are gold mission bosses. Is that right?
Yes, they're gold mission bosses. So any officers or buffs that you may have through various sources that are say against hostiles or non-armada hostiles, those do not count at all. Against opponent still counts, but anything that has a designation or a modifier on there will not count. So the crews that we've been using, the basic version is 5 Lorca Khan. A more advanced version is one of the Kinnemer's Revenge crews, Gowron, Martok, or Bael, depending on your ship type, Khan and then Lorca. And in an advanced crew, if you're using a bunch of buffs to get more crit chance, you can use Pike, Lorca, and Kirk. Kirk being the one giving you morale, which also gives you some critical damage if you have Fleet Commander Kirk slotted. So those are your quick tips. We've also seen lots of screenshots. There's some in the circle for you, DJs, if you want to pull up the Nightmare one. And just as you're pulling that up, I just want to say that the previous largest mission boss in the game was around 18 billion. And this one comes in at a whopping 4.1 trillion power. So it is a massive change difference. And you'll see a screenshot in here where there's a tier 16. So that's one of them, but I would flip to the one that has a Crenshaw in it. There's a tier 16 Crenshaw, which survived by the skin of its teeth against the Nightmare version of the hijacked USS Enterprise. So this is the mission boss. Also, these have Apex Barrier and Isolitic damage associated with them. So they're pretty potent little beasts there. I've given some recommendations on that chart that you've shown based on where you are generationally, what ones you may want to start with, and you can kind of tinker from there to see if you can punch up or punch down.
Yeah, and to answer Benny Hill's question, so you need to use PvP officers? Not necessarily. They can't be designated. Yeah, they can't be labeled.
Yeah.
They just have to be basically labeled as opponent. In the very beginning of the game 5 years ago, Benny Hill, that was kind of the case. But a lot of officers now designate as player, and those will not work either. So it just needs to be opponent. And yeah, obviously the one that we just saw, the Nightmare model, 4.1 trillion power with over 6 trillion hull, is what we saw in this particular screenshot right here. This is the 4.1 trillion, and you can see down here 1 trillion in shields and 6 trillion in hull. Just absolutely massive ships
last
here.
Thing I'll say, and this is a compliment. The last thing I'll say is this is a compliment to Mr. Tiger's design. There is no cooldown being able to accept this mission. It uses champion trophies, which everyone's collecting now, and especially if you're not a mega grinder, you'll be collecting this for quite a while before you hit superior. So you'll be able to repeat this mission over and over and over again, earning insignia at no controlled rate. You can earn as much as you can spend your trophies to redeem that mission. And then you go down to the redeem for Fleet Commander Khan, and you can immediately unlock Fleet Commander Khan. So for a lot of players, as you're slowly progressing through this rep, you will probably have enough champion trophies, be able to defeat this hostile or this mission boss enough times to get enough insignia to immediately max Khan, and then start being able to get his skill points and also immediately be able to unlock Walk Yokim.
Let's talk about this math here a little bit, because I think this is really, really important. We've had people asking us about this claim of yours, Jules. How is Khan going to be unlockable free to play during this arc? Let's do the math on that, okay? Because obviously it is going to depend on what you can hit, but the currency is completely grindable. All right. Riskbreaker says the only control is indeed the hostile limit. Let's take a look at what a player might be able to kill. So we talked about the Nightmare. That's a G6 epic only, barely, maybe. Okay. That is the canine tooth level of hostile, if you will. We take a look at the Warlord, which is going to require a G6 ship, probably decently well developed. The captain level at G5. Ensign level at G4, et cetera, et cetera. Now, let's do this for a G5 perspective, Jules. Let's do this at a G5 perspective. If we are G5, if we can take out Khan's champion mission number 3, the captain level, that's going to award us 3,000 insignias. 3,000 insignias. Then we come into the store. All right, where we can come into the Khan unlock. Well, 3,000 insignias is going to get us, at that point, roughly 10, 12. It's going to get you 12 Khan shards right there. Okay, I'm going to pull up a calculator here so that we can do this a little bit more accurately.
It's 50,000 insignia. I'll short circuit this for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. 50,000 insignia. The 50,000 insignia.
I'll even backtrack it further for you. It's going to take you 133,000 champion trophies.
God bless it, Jules. Obviously, he's already solved this. That's where I was going. How many times are you going to have to run the mission? 133,000
champion trophies.
Champion trophies.
If you are doing the champion 3 and you're killing that captain every time, you're getting 3,000 insignia.
Where is it in the sheet? Let's put it up on screen. Let's put it up on screen.
Well, I'm just ballparking the numbers here for you. Maybe I'll make a new section.
Oh, we're gonna make a chart for it.
The point is, I'll make a new chart. That's just fine. I need to sleep.
Griffin, he's already done the math. He's just doing it off the top of his head. So I
want everyone to go into their other tab.
He is showing off.
Everyone go into their other tab, scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see your splicers and you'll see your champion trophy, and look at your inventory of champion trophy. That is what you've earned over the last 3 days. So how many, if you're a G5 player, how many do you need to get to 133,000? How many more days? I bet you it's going to be the exact same number of days, if not even a little bit less.
Oh my gosh.
Take to get you to Superior.
Wait, so 100. I've done 13,000. I need 133. That's only so I've done that in 2 days. So a multiplier of 10, that'd be 20 more days for me. And I'm not even a grinder.
What's your reputation right now?
My reputation is not there yet. My reputation, I should probably be there in the next day or two to the next one. I'll be at Patreon. I'm at 7.3 million. So, I mean, I'm doing good, right? Am I doing good? Community, don't be pooping on me right now. I'm doing good, right? Cruzito says, nah. Tricky said no.
You're doing good. Your shields are probably down, and you've been hit 30 times today alone.
Oh, God, I'm being raided right now. Tricky says you should be Superior by now. No, you guys are killing me.
No. It'll take you 30 days to get to Superior. It'll take you 20 days to get all of the trophies you need to unlock Khan based on your current rate. So if you keep doing exactly what you're doing, you will have Superior in a month, and you'll have Fleet Commander Khan in a month.
Ooh.
I love that. That's great news for me.
That is great news for you. You know what is great news for you, community? Is that Scopely has already granted me Fleet Commander Khan so that I will be able...
So, son of a gun.
I quit. I
got it.
I quit.
You know, it was only I did it literally specifically just to piss off Griffin. Okay, that's I know he does not appreciate the role reversal. I think it's hilarious. Okay, that being said. I do have Fleet Commander Khan. I maxed him today all the way to tier 20, level 100. I did that today so that we would be able to talk about him this coming weekend in detail, Jules. There's skills. Now, I'll tell you, I have not done a single skill yet, not one. And this is why we were just talking about, I had mentioned this when Tiger and Domen were on. Domen is telling us, Jules, that there is some extreme value here inside Fleet Commander Khan. Just top down, do you agree with that assessment? Is there a strategy to Fleet Commander Khan that we need to talk about?
Well, I just want to add one more point, by the way. I know that we were just talking about how you'd get Fleet Commander Khan in 30 days. You're like, I already got him for free. Here's the other tidbit. That same amount of chest pulls, the same amount that you would have gotten through Fleet Commander Khan, you will now have maxed Joachim. You'll at least have max shards. So in 30 days, you'll have a maxed Epic Officer.
Wait. Maxed? Not just unlocked?
Correct. You will have enough affinity, and there is no cooldowns in order to completely max Joachim in 30 days.
See,
they're just giving the farm away here.
Here's the thing, though. You need like almost 200,000 affinity to actually tier him. So there's additional sourcing. You need to continue to earn that affinity in order to actually tier him. But just baseline, being able to get there and get the shards for him is going to be great for you. So just saying right off the bat, like being able to get him, get all the shards you need to max, and then be able to tier him as you continue going through. You'll probably get, in your particular case, get Joachim maxed by month 2 or by the end of this mega arc.
Well, and here, Zoidberg says, here come the cooldowns. I hear #free augment. Listen, Tiger specifically mentioned this in his design, that he likes to reward engagement. I think that is a very important thing to point out, that is accurate in a lot of his arcs. You look at Mirror Universe, look at what you guys are doing with Reputation over there. I don't expect that this is not intentional. Griffin, if I'm looking at what he's done with this store, and you guys, I totally understand that we can talk about, the DTI store and, 4 months later and all this stuff. But Tiger, I mean, we've had Tiger here and we've talked to Tiger before, and Tiger's a very different kind of designer. I don't typically see, let's put it this way. when we had him here for Mirror and we were talking about the pain of a lot of that, and we asked him if there were mistakes with certain things, right? I remember going back and talking to him about the Revenant refinery and if there were mistakes with that, and that's kind of starting to level out a little bit. I mean, it's not perfect yet, but it's starting to level out. And we go back and we look at Mirror Universe, and that seems to be very, very leveled right now. I don't think, and even tonight, Griffin, he came out and pretty much immediately said what one of his biggest mistakes was and what he wants to change immediately, which is going to be the away team's assignment store. I don't know that this is something that he hasn't planned for, if that makes sense. I mean,
it makes perfect sense, and I believe that you're right. Based on his previous track record, there's no reason to suggest otherwise. In fact, it's just inevitable.
Yeah. Mimi says they're welcome to slap cooldowns and all this stuff in 4 months because I'm going to have it maxed in 2. All right, fantastic. Exactly. There you go.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, there you go. All right, fantastic. Jules, as we're getting ready to kind of wrap up, and tonight being a little bit of an abbreviated show because it's just been packed with information, and I don't want to take anything away from that. I know that there were a couple of things that you wanted to talk about tonight, specifically naming with the P1 ATAs, the Priority 1 away teams assignments. There is perhaps a UI adjustment that we can look at. That look at suggesting to them, because there is something that players need to be on the lookout for. Jules, can you explain a little further?
Yes, and you can see this in the sheet under ATA overview. I've actually started a loot table because this is not data that we were given. We needed to actually provide this from the community. There is, when you actually see an ATA and you see, for instance, a six-star material extraction, that could be crystal, gas, or ore. They're actually 2 different versions that have the same name. One version is going to
I'm sorry. What am I looking for real quick? I just want to put it up.
In the sheet, the tab ATA overview.
Overview. Okay, sorry. I was looking at something
else. And then scroll a little bit to the right. You'll see the loot table that's being built. That actual assignment has 2 different versions, and they're targeted for different ops ranges. Now, here's the difference between the 2 versions. The low will have lower requirement for your success chance. The high will have higher requirement for your success chance, but will also have higher amount of rewards. What does that mean for you? Well, if you are a player, say you're DJs and you're squishy and you have squishy officer stats, then you probably cannot get 100% on your rare assignment. That may be because you are either trying to attempt the high version of that assignment and you actually have higher stats you need to hit in order to hit that 100% chance. Or it could also just be the fact that you're doing a rarities are just going to be harder. So just be on the lookout when you see particularly with commons, the difference between the high and the low is actually is most easily seen with the officer shards. If you have 1 officer shard, it's going to be easier to attain, as in lower stats required, but it's going to have lower rewards. Higher stats, higher rewards.
Do we know that is the same all the way up? Is that?
We don't. I think there's a pattern. We've seen some data that we are not obliged to share that has alluded to this being the case. But I don't have the stats. I don't have the rewards for all this, so I cannot 100% guarantee. I am just going to try to follow the pattern and see where the data comes in.
Okay.
The last variation is captain. If it has a captain moniker at the front of that name, so for instance, 6-star captain, crystal extraction, then what you're actually going to see is even higher rewards, but an even higher benchmark you need to hit. And it's going to require a specific captain. Now, what captain it requires, there is a long list of captains that it could require. I think there's over 40 different types of captains across all of the assignments based on the early data we got. In that case, you may see a captain there's a few small rare officers that it just recently came out that you probably don't have higher than tier 2. They're going to have very low stats. They're not going to help you at all. But there's also officers like 5 of 11 who has a really high stats, and a lot of people are going to have max by this point. So watch out for the captains and see if that captain you have has a high amount of stats. So those are the 3 variations of the priority 1 ATIs I wanted to warn everybody about. And Domen also kind of brought that up when we were talking about it earlier. I also have another PSA. I kind of want to jump away from P1 ATAs for now so I can get through this other PSA. And that is with a research for officer shard efficiency. So this is going to be in your away team's research tree. This one specifically, yep. So you're showing the TNG crew allocation. It gives you a shard efficiency rating. Now, whenever we've seen efficiencies, it's been for things like materials, resources, or currencies that you would spend on research nodes or ships or station upgrades. This is different because how they count and how they actually quote unquote charge you for shards in order to tier up an officer is actually completely different. Shards aren't a currency that you gain and then spend. It's a counter, just like faction reputation or syndicate reputation. It is just counting where you are, and the benchmark that it takes to rank that officer up is based on a number that is put in there saying, hey, when they have gotten to this shard count for this officer, then we are going to allow you the UI to then rank up. Same thing with the transporter patterns. When you've hit, you're showing Jean-Luc Picard, when you've hit 1,910 shards for Jean-Luc Picard, it automatically converts and say, great, now every shard you earn from here on out is going to be in transporter patterns. What the efficiency does is it lowers that goalpost. So what it takes, where that number is on your total shard count in order to reach for, say, unlocking or getting to tier 2 or tier 3, that goalpost is lowered. What does that mean for you as a player? Well, what that means is that you are not penalized if you tier officers, whether you've done it before this arc, during the arc, whenever. It doesn't matter. When you unlock the efficiency, all of the goalposts get reduced, including transporter patterns. So that's the long version of it. It's great that this is the case because I think a lot of times when new efficiencies come in the game, everyone feels like they've been gypped, right? Or they've like, oh man, I just maxed this or I just did this and now I could have gotten all this efficiency. Here, you are not penalized for that. The last thing I want to say is just an example of what this looks like. Say you're working with TNG data and you have, you're at 49 out of 80 on the last upgrade. I don't know if you've got anything that's kind of roughly around the barrier. It doesn't look like you do have a lot of anything that's roughly around the barrier. Okay, so I'm just going to use TNG data as an example here. Say you have 49 out of 800. That's what's going to take you to get to your max, and you're going to be able to max him. Well, you'd think if I had 100% efficiency, well, then that 80, the actual what it takes me to get to that max level is going to turn to 400. So then I'd say, okay, then great. I'm expecting to see 49 out of 400. That's what we see in every other type of efficiency. Here, because it's actually moving the entire goalpost lower, you are actually going to end up with 399 out of 400. So you're getting even closer to that end goal. If you are really close to maxing officer, it is highly likely that you'll be able to max that officer as you build up these efficiencies.
Let's give it
because they're paying you back for that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4.
Let's give this a try. Yeah, I see that,
Exactly.
Mimi. Let's give this a go. And we're on screen. What I am going to demonstrate here for the podcast audience and for everybody. If I look at officers, I've got Garrett, a recently acquired officer, but she is a part of the Enterprise E set. All right. I am currently at, I just saw her. I'm at 122 out of 225. Basically, I need 103 shards to max her out because I'm already tier 4. So I'm at 122 out of 225 to get her maxed. All right. If I come into the research tree and I've got this, you know what? Let's do some math on her before we do this. All right. My TNG crew allocation is going to start at 10%. So as Jules is indicating, what we would have typically expected here with TNG Rachel Garrett is
She's not TNG. She's Enterprise E.
Oh, boo. Thank you for saving me the research currency.
Do you have any TNG?
I was getting ready.
Do you have any TNG officers?
I was getting ready to do something terrible. I was getting ready to.
I was going to let you do it.
So then Cressida can make
man. Almost.
TNG. I don't know. Now, see, I was getting ready to do something.
TNGs are done.
My TNGs are probably done. Wesley Crusher, maxed. Yeah, all my TNGs are done. They're all done.
Well, here's a question for Jules Verne.
Oop.
If he does go ahead and make that horrible mistake, does he get transporter patterns for lowering the goalposts on things that are already complete?
No. We actually have been able to verify that. It will not reverse engineer the transporter patterns. Now, what it will do is obviously you'll still get transporter patterns for anything moving forward, but anything that it backs you up by will just get you to that next tier opportunity. It will not reverse engineer the transporter patterns. All right, just that's a PSA from me. I do know that. Okay,
and it's because it's not granting you shards.
That's right.
My other question for Jules is in your example, and this is not a new question, but for those who are newer to the game, in your example, you listed an integer as a part of your equation, which is the number of shards that it's taking and counting. And these efficiencies in this research are percentages. So for example, in what DJz was about to do, if he's going to take that TNG crew allocation to level 5 and he's going to get a 100% efficiency on 1900 total shards, what does the Scopely math look like on that? What can a player expect to get?
It's going to work like every other efficiency model. So it's 1 divided by 1 plus whatever the efficiency is. So 100% efficiency cuts the cost in half. Or in this case, it lowers the goalpost by half.
So this is a brand new technology, brand new research, no other previous efficiencies. So you are seeing legit 50% reduction on a 100% listed efficiency.
Yeah, so if it's 1900 total shards, you're talking about taking this research to max and it dropping to 950 total shards.
Better than that, because actually max is 150% reduction.
Well, using 100% as, though, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's huge.
So what's your Rachel Garrett at again?
My Rachel Garrett is at 123 out of 225 for tier 4. But I don't think I have enough stuff to get all the way to Enterprise E. Yeah, I don't have enough stuff because Enterprise E is way down the line. Here is Enterprise E crew allocation way down the line. So I don't have enough Pioneer's Crest to get there just yet. But that is significant. Holy smokes. I didn't realize the gravity of that, especially on epics.
Once you get to level 3, which is 30% efficiency, you will have max Garrett.
So taking
away, you'll have the shards to max her.
So taking this Enterprise E crew allocation to a 30% will be basically enough to make up my final 100 shards.
Exactly.
Schwag says, I have a ton of epics at like 90%. Well, depending on their group, all right? Now, this is not for all. You've got to do it based on the group, and there are groups in here. TNG, Ferengi crew, DS9, Borg crew, and specifically the Unimatrix 12 group, okay? Lower Decks, all right? Which Lower Decks crew is not going to include your strike team guys, all right? You have to look at the actual crew designation. That's why Rachel Garrett is in Enterprise E, because she's a part of the Enterprise E group, all right? So do be very, very careful. Here's Strange New Worlds, Voyager group, all right? You got to look at the allocation for the officer group, the synergy group that she is in now, okay?
And yes, even at the end, there are a few specific individual officers which you can go after.
Absolutely, and those are just going to be dumps. Those are dumps of officer shards, including Chakotay, Janeway, Chapel, Enterprise E Data, and a few others. So definitely some interesting stuff there, and the PSAs that we wanted to share with you here tonight. As we get ready to wrap up this very informative and very special episode of Talking Trek live with Game Design here tonight, I would like to open it up to audience questions in the chat, or if you'd like to raise your hand in the studio, I'll be more than happy to bring you up for just a few moments. We'll go maybe 5 or 10 minutes on this segment and get ready to dip out of here. Griffin, all in all, very pleased with what I heard tonight from Game Design. Also a little bit of relief in looking at that grind. I do know that he says we're not supposed to be doing it all, but we are, myself included, trying to hit these double refines, and I'm trying to time it out to where I'm doing all 4 of those boxes simply because of the credits that are needed. I am curious if the community thinks a trade down solves that problem. I mean, to be honest with you, I need so few epic Wrath tokens right now, Jules, that I wouldn't mind to trade them down. Like, this to me feels a lot like Mirror Universe. I know I'm eventually going to need the epic credits, but right now I need commons.
I don't like that idea at all. I don't, for the reason why you say. For 2 reasons. Number 1, the ship inventory and what we can hold on a ship is very limited. Number 2, you do need those epic and those rare credits now, and you will for a long time. This is what the mistake of the Mirror Universe. A trade down helps nobody once you progress
I disagree.
that loop. Well,
Yeah,
no, man.
I disagree
What you
too.
need is an efficiency to reduce the number of commons that you need in the first place.
That's true. I think I would disagree only because UltimatDJz, remember when the Mirror Universe came out and we mapped out exactly how much of each type you needed to max the entire tree.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, look, you're going to need a lot of epic, but you're not going to need a lot of rare or uncommon, not in the same ratio. So feel free, just go ahead and trade down
We
your
did.
rares and uncommons freely. Never trade down epics. Now, we made that call because we knew what the long-term plan was. We don't know it yet. We don't have all the favor costs yet. We don't know what the accelerants are going to be in the future.
Well, that is certainly fair, and we are only on day 3. Hopefully, we'll be able to amass some of that data and look at it further. And obviously, it's not an issue at this moment because we don't have those trade downs, but I do feel like that would potentially help the feeling of this 4 hostile grind. Now, again, to reiterate what Mr. Tiger said, it's not really his intention for players to be, double pulling all of this stuff and going through this grind. But he did indicate, Jules, that he does intend for players to be pulling all 4 of those chests. He also said that it is early and that there are going to be developments not only to the chasers, but to auto farming in this space, and that the ability to not die on that warp core breach is going to be able to eventually be negated by whatever tool he has in his tool belt. That, I think, is going to be something I'm looking forward to seeing. I am hesitant on whether or not I'm going to be super happy about that being the ability of the ship. So I don't know. And that's assuming we get a ship. We're all assuming that we're going to get the Reliance on the cover art, the Reliance and all over the blog post. Everybody assumes that we're going to get the Reliant. I don't know that
I don't think that'll be its ability, though.
I hope. I kind of hope not matters. I don't want the Reliant to be an auto grind magnet.
Oh, I would take that to Vegas and I'd bet it all.
I know.
Come on.
I know.
Being able to nerf that ability, it would be great to strategically place the ship in this system and one in this system and this, to send 3 ships out, each one getting a different type of that loot. Which, if that's a ship ability, that means you'd have to buy 3 of those ships or 4. Like he said.
Oh, Matters, he did tip his hand when he said that. He did tip his hand.
System 40, one in system 50, one in whatever, and grind all and AFK grind all 3 at the same time or all 4. So that's why I don't
we'll just
think
have to tune in next month and find out.
Either that or he's trying to drive sales for the ship.
Well, we don't know yet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hop on to the player feedback, and we'll take a look very quickly into the chat. Cruzito from Server 13, you have been extraordinarily optimistic for the last 48 hours.
Oh, he loves it all. He loves it all because this is classic STFC. So he's having a ball.
He is having a ball. But what's funny is that on the ARC preview night, he was really super pissy. What changed for you between Monday night and Tuesday night, Cruzito?
Playing the ARC and seeing what you actually have to do.
Right. So I think for me, the biggest thing is no coordination. I can grind as I want to. I can do as much or as
Yep.
little as I want to. And based on what he said today, if you want to go put 24 hours a day into it, you can. And I've always been a big fan of that. I am a grind or pay perspective, right? Either
Mm-hmm.
grind it or
Yeah.
you pay to speed it up. I do think the fact that you can acquire the main feature realistically free to play day one, if you chose to go bonkers and get it done, you could. I also like the fact that there are hostels. Now, I don't know about Canine Tooth. I went out, tried to hit a 70, and I got punched in the face really hard. So I enjoy the fact that I can't do that.
Yep.
But I also like the fact that I can go up there. They took a lot of my pain point mechanics out where I hate the auto grind. Personally, I think if you're going to go play, you should be active in the game. Now, I was interested to hear that he said, well, we might be able to put that in. I think that, yes, we're going to get the ship, but I also believe that there's going to be a cooldown, or an ability type thing that you can turn on or off. So something similar to what we got with, you can, like a cloak, if you will. You can go and kick it on and it lets you auto grind. And then it runs out after a period of time. So you're not sitting there all night.
Interesting.
Which I think is good
can you
for the game,
imagine though? You're absolutely right. Can you imagine the congestion in these systems if you could just sit there and auto grind like 24? I mean, look at what happens in augment space now. There's no less than 50 to 100 ships in every single one of those systems as it is. That would be disastrous, I think, for the way that this feature is launching.
And I honestly think that is partially, maybe not, tinfoil hat here. I think that is why we have a lot of the performance problems that we have in the game, is because you have, hundreds upon hundreds of ships sitting in a system. And each time that's hostile's got to get there, it's got to make the call and figure out the loot and do all the other stuff. That's why mining Mondays are ridiculously laggy, because mining and speeds. But no, I think for me, the biggest thing is the fact that for the first time in I don't know how many arcs, I can play the game at my leisure without having to worry about anything else as far as coordination, right? Like I hear it on the stream all the time, right? Oh, I got to get these guys into this leg or that leg or whatever. I can just go out there and go grind, do as much or as little as I want to.
Yeah.
And that's the number one. Now, I know I'm going to get killed in chat about the technical issues. Content like this, for me personally, I'm okay to deal with the technical issues because, one, they're addressing them quick, and that's just going to happen. But I'm able to live with those technical issues if we have great content that when it's working, I can go and just play. So, yeah, it was a hard launch. There was some issues with it. I don't care, honestly, because I'm going to have at least a month of being able to just go and play it. So that's my perspective.
I appreciate that. And honestly, I have always been a little bit more forgiving of tech because there's going to be bugs, and that was one of the things that I'd mentioned tonight. These guys weren't responsible for that. That's why we didn't bring it up. I know a lot of people are going to be a little bit fussy. Oh, you didn't talk about how bad the game's been for the last 2 days. Yeah, because these guys aren't responsible for that piece of it. They wrote the content, and there are some issues with the coders and the programmers and engineering and whatever department you want to call that. I don't disagree. I think there's been an issue a little bit with live ops. It would have been irresponsible of me and not in alignment for me to call out tonight, which I will say, I think there has been a disconnect between game design and live ops. That's not an appropriate comment for me to make to game design because it wasn't their disconnect. All right. But I do think that, and Domen mentioned it himself. All right. Domen mentioned it himself, which I'm glad that he did. Because that means that he was watching chat and you guys, that is important to you guys. I just want to make sure that we know, where, who is working on what. And I appreciate the fact that he came in and said, hey, we know that this is an issue and we're going to be reaching out to live ops. We're going to be trying to communicate with them because honestly, communication between different departments at Scopely has always been a little bit of a struggle, Griffin. So the fact that game design is going to reach out and try to coordinate a little bit better with live ops on what the expectations are is going to be helpful. So I appreciate him mentioning that. But I do think that there's been a little bit of disconnect. Now, that being said, all right, the criteria or the double milestones associated with the heroic events, I am not upset about. Okay, I'm not. Go ahead.
I was going to bring that up. I had a conversation with one of my players about that, and the one thing that's missing, and I get it because you were talking about the heroic. I think going forward, it would do us good to just consider any meta that's out there, and they're going back to OG STFC at the beginning. For any meta that's out there, it's going to be a grind or a pay, and it's going to be what we called heroic or whatever it is. And if you look at it, that's exactly what these are.
Well, maybe. I mean, this one doesn't require pay. It's just stupidly grindy. But I want to point out, and this is a good, you know what? This will be my last PSA, Jules, and then we gotta go for time. All right. Let's take a look at this meta very quickly. All right. I want to draw attention to the evolving enemies bucket that you've got in your events folder. Okay. Tarpy, our Talking Trek Laboratory, has gotten together on this and calculated everything that's in the calendar as long as Scopely sticks to the calendar. Then what you have here are two different metas. Let's start with the evolving enemies meta. You open this meta, it has 4 milestones capping out at 1,499 points. Okay? These events, right here in the scoring box, it says that there's one called an evolving enemy event that is completed that pays 100. And then there is an evolving enemies heroic event completion that will pay 200. Let's give you the math on this. Okay? Let's give you the math on this. If you complete all 15 regularly scheduled evolving enemy basic events, that's the lower milestone event. Okay? If you complete, and if I'm not mistaken, Tarpy, correct me if I'm wrong, we did in fact count 15 of these in the calendar. All right, and Jules, feel free to jump in. Oh, Tarp, there you are. Yeah. There were 15.
It was, yeah.
That's right. Exactly 15. Okay? Which means that if you complete 100% of your normal evolving enemies events, you will finish the meta. Okay? And those are the ones with the lower milestones. Okay? Now, if you miss a day, if you can't do it, if the grind is too heavy one day and you're not able to get to it, but we do see some people that come out and say, well, I can grind more on Saturdays or I can grind more on Sundays or this or that. There are, I believe, 4, correct me if I'm wrong again, Tarpy, 4 scheduled heroic events. Somebody check the calendar, make sure I'm not wrong. 4.
Sent it to you as well. Again, it's 5 heroic events that are scheduled.
5 heroic events. 5 scheduled heroic events. Those are going to be double milestones, but award double points. There's 2 ways that you can look at this, folks. One is that it's a makeup. All right? You can do 2 days worth of grind in one day and make up points that you missed in a previous day, and you will be able to still hit your basic meta. All right? However, for you ridiculous overachievers, and by the way, this is also Absolutely a testament to the communication from Mr. Tiger and Live Ops, because he loves to reward engagement. Okay? If you were to engage in all events, including the 15 regularly scheduled and 4 out of the 5 scheduled heroics, meaning that you have literally 1 heroics worth of buffer or 2 regulars worth of buffer, then you'll be able to complete the overflow. Because not just you have the regular meta, but you also have this overflow, which requires an extra 800 points. If there are 5 heroics, that is good for an extra 1,000 points, meaning that you've got 1 heroic or 2 regular events worth of buffer, even to finish the overflow. That is really, really high engagement. Okay? It really, really is. For the overflow.
What do you get from it, though?
Well, yeah, you get.
What do you get from it?
The overflow is going to come with 10 Joachim shards. All right. And the basic
that's
meta,
what I'm sitting here thinking myself, DJ. It's like, that's an officer we're going to get for free anyway.
Well,
so what am I killing myself for that?
Maybe that's a good point.
Not the regular.
Because that's right. Tarpy's onto something. The regular meta is going to free to play unlock McCoy. The heroics, hang on, Tarpy. The heroics are only the extra events if you need an extra 10 shards of Joachim, which again, as Mr. Tiger points out, is going to be very easily obtainable in the Augment Faction store. I am going to again argue exactly what Griffin just pointed out, is that your priority needs to be the evolving enemies meta, which means you can ignore all of the heroics if you so choose. If you do not, though, if you miss a regular event, then the heroic can be your makeup. All right? And they've built in 5 makeup events if you miss a regular evolving meta. Also, one more PSA, then Tarpy, I'm coming to you. One more PSA. For players under Ops 40, it has been confirmed by Live Ops that you also have the exact same event structure, that you have 15 regular evolving enemy events and 5 grind-heavy heroics. None of these heroics, by the way, cost any money. You have the exact same event structure. So if you are sub 40 and you are getting substitute events, you are still able to complete the basic evolving enemies meta, not the overflow. Well, you can do the overflow. You've got the same structure if you stay perfect, but you can ignore all heroics if you complete 100% of evolving enemies basic SMSs and still finish the meta, therefore unlocking a rare free to play. Tanker says, what about low ops players not getting the Wrath of Khan battle pass at all? Well, I should say ops 20 up. There are a lot of events in here that are 40 plus. So ops 20 through 39 have substitute events. You still got to be ops 20. All right. But ops 20 through 39 do have substitute events and have the exact same structure. Skyquake says 26. Is it 26? I thought it was 20. You don't get a battle pass at 20? Thought it was 20. Might be 26. Been a long time since I was there. Either way, there is absolute possibility at completing this meta and ignoring the heroics if you so choose. So for all these players that are very, very upset about the grind on the SMSs, I get it. But look at the grander scheme. Look at the grander event design. You can skip the heroics. Those are makeups or the stretch goal for extra rewards. Tarpy, go ahead with your analysis.
The last thing I kind of wanted to add to that is if you don't even finish the heroic to unlock bones, there are close, not quite perfect, but close to the other half of the shards from the free track of the battle pass. So even if you don't finish that meta, if you do buy the paid battle pass, you will unlock bones. So there is still a little bit of wiggle room, and you'll be pretty close if you don't finish the meta and don't buy the battle pass. That's including shards from the missions.
So shards
I
from the
just said
free
that.
track and the missions and the first 3 milestones of the meta will still be enough to get you very, very, very close.
Right.
Okay. That's pretty phenomenal, to be honest with you. Divine says 26 for these hostels. No, that's my point, Divine. All the way down to 20 has sub-events. All right? So this meta, if I'm not mistaken, what they told me was 20 through 39 have substitute events. Now, and unless I'm getting that wrong, who is the meta targeted at? Let's take a look at the in-game news. Maybe the meta was 26, and I'm wrong completely as far as the targeting on that. But they told me anybody who has events that are targeted for alternative events, okay? Here it is. Evolving enemies. This is level 10 plus, guys.
Huh?
Level 10 plus, okay? And they will have alternative events. So I stand corrected. It's not 20 through 39. It's 10 through 39, and here is evidence of it.
Basically everybody.
Yeah, right here. In the graphics room, this is in your in-game news right here. All right. Players 10 through 39 will have an alternative event. So timestamped is 10:21 p.m. Eastern time for the graphics room for the podcast audience, but it is in your in-game news. So even if you see an event that's level 40 plus, the lower level players will have a separate event that will still allow them to participate and complete the evolving enemies meta, which is absolutely wildly important for people to understand and acknowledge. So, yes, while the grind looked incredible yesterday, read your calendar, look at your event load, look at the events, and analyze a little bit, which I know a lot of people don't do. That's for us to do. But, admittedly, even our content creator team didn't get it. I know Lube and Stewie have been very fussy. I know Rev has been very fussy. And since we looked at this design yesterday, mathematically, it was a very good design for us. I'm happy with this design. All right. The heroics, yeah, it's grindy. They're meant to be. At least they're free.
Yep.
All right. So I want you to be aware that these heroic events are not necessary for you to unlock your rare. They're really not even necessary for anything other than a makeup mechanic unless you're excited about 10 Joachim shards. Because 10 Joachim shards are going to be super easily replaced in the Augment Faction store. Your goal needs to be the 1,500 points from the basic meta, and you will have an opportunity at 15 regular events with up to 5 super grindy makeup events if you happen to miss. And you might be able to do one of those makeup events, one of those heroics on a weekend or something like that, where you can go and do your heavy grind. But please do not be so frustrated and so tainted at the heroic milestone. This is a brilliantly designed meta. And maybe because it is so brilliantly designed is why we didn't recognize it at first.
Okay.
Listen, players were losing their minds yesterday, and actually it's one of the best design metas of all time. And I get that players might think that the events are a little bit grindy. I think the heroic being more grindy than the standard event is absolutely acceptable. I think that the overall number of hostiles that need to be hit could use a little bit of work simply because of what Live Ops expected our ability to be with these hostiles that are very, very challenging to hit. All right. But the regular SMSs themselves and the heroic milestones that are doubled are absolutely a beautiful design.
Yeah.
That's right, Doss. Griffin looks unconvinced. I agree.
No, I am convinced. My whole point the whole time is that overflow for 10 Joachim shards is a total red herring.
Agreed.
Why even admit that it exists? Just focus on what you can do in the regular grind and you're fine.
Yeah.
And DJs, one thing, if I can, is I think this also may give players an opportunity to look at where their accounts are. Because again, understanding that these are challenging, right? Obviously, I can't hit a 70. So I got to punch down to the 68s. But that means I should be able to hit the 68s with no problem, which I can. I do think this is an opportunity for us to take a look at our accounts and understand what we do or do not need to do with them, right? There's a lot of players that jump ops, shoot for, I'm jumping into 60s, and they have like a tier 4 G5 epic. So I think that's also an important thing to keep in mind, because I think that's the one thing I'm hearing is that a lot of folks are having to punch down in order to get the kills, which then means it's going to be instead of 50 hostiles, it now turns into 75 or 100. So I think that's a good thing for us to be able to recognize where our accounts are and where we might need to.
I agree.
Do some.
As a matter of fact, Nowhere Man says that is one of my worst takes ever. He says even the regular SMSs, the milestones are out of control. Anything calling that brilliant is one of my worst takes ever, and I get that. Cruzito just hit the nail on the head, though. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with somebody in chat who was an Ops 53, and he was punching down to level 42. That was the best that he could hit. Now,
wow,
he has to hit 400 hostiles to finish his solo milestone. I'm here to tell you that is not a standard scenario in which you should find yourself. All right. Now, I'm punching down 4 levels. I'm an Ops 67, or 3, I guess. I'm an Ops 67. I'm punching down to the 64s. And by the way, I'm getting about 5 or 6 per hull. It's not even great. All right. Maybe 7 per hull. I could tell you by looking at my battle logs. No, I can't, because I was hitting level 50s earlier to try to get uncommon loot. For the solo milestone, I think I can hit probably 6 or 7 hostiles per hull. Matters, shut up. Matters says you are squishy. All right. So squishy.
Say it, but hey, Matters, good job. Yeah, that's just
all right. Tarpy says you are squishy. I'm hitting more 68s than you're hitting 64s. Okay, well, whatever. I'm hitting like 6 or 7 64s per hull. All right, with full loot. I'm not trying to punch up. I'm punching with full loot. All right, trying to do that.
Repair costs on loot.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I need the loot. Anyway. All right. Andy says not worth it. Okay. Well, anyway, maybe I'm not doing it right. Okay. But my bottom line is, if I could kill the 68s, then I'm hitting at my level. If I'm punching down 3 or 4 levels to complete this SMS, I'm having to do like 50 or 60 hostiles, and I'm punching down 3 levels. Okay, it might be 70 hostiles. I don't know. It might be a little more than that. Point is, Cruzito's right. This is a checkup from the neck up. All right. If you're hitting more than 60 to 70 hostiles for this event, you've got a deficiency that you need to address. All right. And I don't want it to be considered a worst take ever, Nowhere Man, and I'm not trying to be offensive. But if you have to hit 400 hostiles for this event,
you're not. There's a power problem within your best ship.
There's a combat
crewing problem.
Yeah, there's a combat ability problem here. Okay,
it's the first week.
I mean,
too, and we don't have research or anything to help with these.
That's true.
So it's going to be harder this week.
That is true. How much have I invested into my account? I mean, a fair amount of money, Mud, but I've not invested anything into this loop. All right. And really, truthfully, I mean, people do know this. I used to spend a lot of money. I really haven't been lately. I have spent far less money in G6 than I ever spent in G4 and G5, which is
all
wild.
the money you spend in the game is for prizes for viewers.
That's true. I can't afford anything else anymore. All right. That's true. By the way, just as a quick side note, as we're getting ready to wrap up, I have the packs for everybody from our 24-hour stream loaded up. I'm missing like 2 players, and I can turn that in. All right. So if those 2 guys can get with me, then I can get this thing done. Wolfwood says, I thought people wanted a challenge. Listen, that Warp Core breach, that was made just for Canine Tooth. All right. They have developed Canine Cannon version 1, Canine Cannon version 2, Canine Cannon version 3. They finally just said, fine, no more cannons. You just 90% instant death. Okay. 90% chance, instant death. Death.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. So anyway, there you go. I know that it might be an unpopular take, Nowhere Man, and again, I'm not trying to be rude or in any shape or form. And by the way, Nowhere Man, hey, great. I'm glad you call that out. I don't have any forbidden tech or chaos tech. Great. All right. No, well, not necessarily great. I mean, I'm not saying great, but let me show you what I went out with, because I'm not either. Okay. I went out with full loot crew on a Borg cube with PvP tech, because I can't afford to move stuff off. All right.
I mean, that still has not been solved.
I can't afford to move stuff off. So I have the PvP stuff loaded because I use this as my primary PvP ship. All right.
Have you looked? Because I think that there was a desealing rod economy change with this update that they didn't talk about, because all of a sudden my desealing rods cost a lot less, I think.
That's from a fleet commander, bro.
What? What are you talking about?
Wait,
Lorca
changed with my Treasury.
Oh, Treasury does that. All right. So
what? Nothing changed with my treasury from the.
Yeah, Matter says there's the issue with your game is too much PvP focus, and you don't spend enough to be good in PvP, which I agree. I try to be good at PvP, and then I fail there, and then as a result of me trying in PvP, I fail in PvE. All right, but that's the thing, okay? And I'm glad to draw out those comparisons. And by the way, I'm still punching down. I am having to punch down. But if you're punching down 10, 12, or 14 levels, then yeah, the hostile count's going to be really high. You probably shouldn't need to punch down that far. All right.
And DJs, I would argue, in your case, you're shooting for loot, which is appropriate, right?
I feel like
the events are for kills. So put the max kill crew on, go finish your event, then come back and do your grind lower.
There you go. Your loot. See, that makes sense. I'm just not a makes sense kind of guy.
Clip that.
Thanks. Yeah, that doesn't need to be clicked. All right. Hal says you're punching down because of your crew. Well, if anything, then I'm simulating what it feels like to have to hit 75 hostiles for an SMS, because I haven't been punching up. I've definitely been punching down. So
if you hit 66s, you have to hit over 75 at your ops. I did that calculation yesterday.
Okay, so I'm hitting even more at 64s. Yeah.
Yeah. You basically double it again, so you have to hit approximately 130, 140.
Wow, really? I'm doing 130. And by the way, I want to point out how ridiculous this is. I have not. Okay, here's proof. I want to show you guys proof of what I'm saying. All right. I have not hit a single 66. And here is my proof that I haven't even explored the system. Okay? Haven't even opened the system. It's still undiscovered. All right?
I reckon all your ships are dead.
Yeah, because I got cracked during the interview. All right? Now, I've only been hitting 64s. I don't have anything higher. Here's my proof, because my ships are my systems are undiscovered. And granted, it was still a grind. Okay? And I understand that not a lot of people could do it, but here's my heroic, and I finished it. Which buys me time and buys me flexibility. Okay? Tarpy says 118 was the number that I'd have to hit at 64s. Yeah, that's grindy. All right? And I'm punching down Basically almost 4 levels. Had free time at work. No, I actually did it last night. All right, I haven't been able to play at work. Would you believe that the PC version does not run well on my office PC anymore? It used to.
That's what you get for hooking up 4 monitors to it for no reason.
Yeah, it used to, but now it doesn't run as well anymore. I think it's because the game is bigger. All right. But I am observing that, yes, I understand that it's grindy, but it's not stupid grindy if your account is in a reasonable spot compared to your ops. I am reminded of event grind or events that require grinding like what was the old one? Military supremacy. All right, that's one. We've had another one here recently that I did actually cheat and go to augment space for one of them. Oh, the bells event. I was out of bells. And it was one of the weekly meta events. I was out of bells, so I had to do 1,000 hostiles. I mean, I did some bells, but I didn't have enough. All right. So I'm just saying, yes, it's grindy, but if you're having to hit 400 hostiles, you're not in the right zone. If you're punching down 10 and 12 levels of hostile, then that's an account issue. And we just got to get you up. By the way, for those of you who don't remember military supremacy, it was 500 hostiles in what? 2 days. So basically, 2 days. So it would average out to 250 hostiles a day. And people did that. And they liked it in some cases. Some cases. I hated it. But I hate grinding.
You hate everything, though. That's the funniest part. That's what I love.
That's right. It was 1,000 points at 2 points per hostile. 500 hostiles, 250 per day. It was a 48-hour event. So, there you go. Floyd says, I'm sorry, but I disagree. I have a tier 8 Pylum at Ops 49. Best I can do is a 40. So your Ops 49, best you can hit is a 40?
That seems like a crew issue.
We could probably help you out with that, man. I mean, the 40s, let me double check here. Your Pylum, tier 8, so you should be sitting probably, I mean, how much power? And that's just a loose question. Benny Hill says, we're going to have to do a top 5 things to help your account get caught up. You know, that's fair. First is going to be,
okay.
That's probably a really, really good idea. So,
I mean, in my case, I have to hit 48 to clear the SMS. So you're probably shooting for 50 if you're doing it right.
Yeah. Thumbelina says, I'm Ops 49 and I'm hitting the 48s with some trouble. 46s relatively easy. I mean, if you're all the way down to 40, we probably need to help you. All right, we probably need to help you.
Said it right, because we've always been talking about the loot crew. Get rid of your loot crew out there if you have that, and go with your best damage crew. As Tiger told us originally, OG, first thing he said was go after these in month 1 with your damage crew.
Yeah.
Omicron, I think it was yesterday or Tuesday, said something really interesting where he said, go to the system you can hit a few with your best crew, and then go one system down and hit with a partial loot crew. So then you get a good combination of slightly more loot because of the loot crew, but you're hitting not the hardest hostiles you can hit, but also you're not punching down too much.
Shiz,
I thought that was an interesting recommendation.
It is. Shiz throwing out on its surface what sounds like a very, very good crew. Loot crew, if you're punching down, if you're really trying to work the event, punch up, or get some consistency. Janeway, Dr. Anorex is a really good one. Mbega, Anorex, and Section 31 GG, as suggested by I'm a Junior. Strange New Worlds, Pike, Sam Kirk, and Pelia as another suggestion. These are just a couple of ideas that we can throw out. Another person saying that Strange New Worlds works really, really well. Anorax is great for these, says Spock. Pike Moreau Anorax working very well for me, says Guru. So, and by the way, Anorax, very, very good officer. We've talked about how great he is, and I may suggest that you just take a quick peek at who is in the Augment store. Okay? A very highly valuable officer by the name of Anorax. All right, so even if you're not quite done unlocking him, you've got an opportunity to start with him very, very early. Even pulling the common chest is going to get you one of his shards every single day. All right, so that, I mean, even just pulling the common chest is going to get you there. Maybe the events.
I love that.
Maybe the events are challenging right now. I get it. Maybe they're not for you right now. Then just focus on what you can do, get the common loot for what you can do, and start getting the officers that you need to make this a successful loop, and you will see progressive growth. All right? You will see. No, you can pull the common chest every day. Nowhere, man. Oh, you're talking about the common recruit chest? Yeah, maybe. That might be. Yeah, but you can also pull 2 chests. Well, yeah, so really 1 right up front because the cost on the second one. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. So 1 shard every 2 days. Well, go for the uncommon one then, if you can. All right. I guess it depends on what your loot requirements are. Either way, they've put the tools into the Augment store to help you progress within this loop. And as Tiger pointed out, even calling me out, maybe loot is a pattern that needs to be broken, DJs. Why don't you look at a stronger crew and punch up a little bit? Maybe
at least initially.
Maybe I should. All right, we'll take a look. Any other questions or comments from the panel?
On that note, I need to share with you something incredibly important that we have not talked about yet.
Okay.
I just got a secret scroll text from our friends at Ghost Energy. And do you know what's just around the corner? Are you ready to break the internet?
Yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and release it right here and now. Ghost Energy Dr. Pepper flavor.
Yeah. If you're a Dr. Pepper fan, your life just got a little bit better.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first from our friends over at Ghost Energy. Ghost Energy Dr. Pepper coming soon.
The sponsorship program, Karkin and his Dr. Pepper flavor.
See, you know what? You were asking for that. You were literally asking for that just days ago. Holy smokes. See, that is the power of this. That's the power of this show right here. Let's go round the horn very quickly. Just 60 seconds with the panelists as I get ready to hit the show sounder, and we're going to bounce out of here. Let's start with Matters. I know I haven't given you a whole lot of time on the show tonight. Let's wrap this thing up because we ended up doing a full-length show when I didn't even mean to. Matters. Your feelings on the arc here and what you heard from Mr. Tiger and Domen tonight. What are you looking forward to, not looking forward to, and do you think that this arc has something to look forward to for all players?
I think so. I think it's, it's challenging, it's grindy. I mean, I really like, I'm not a huge fan of grindy, but I'm definitely a huge fan of challenging. There's certainly ways you can punch up and hit those higher hostels to not have to grind so much for these events, and I like that. I like the officers. We haven't really talked about them at all yet, and I know we have an officer recruit event coming up, so I'm not going to talk about her a lot, but I would tell people that go for it with Carol. For sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, I was getting ready to say, if you were simply going to suggest, is this weekend a time for you to invest? You like Wrath of Khan Carol. You're in, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying
really
go for
like
it with Carol? Are you sure? I mean, she seems kind of old for me, but if you think she's interested,
that's okay.
There you go.
New tricks.
Tarpy, what's your opinion? Matters. Thank you very much. I'm gonna filter the audience as we go through here. Tarpy, final thoughts on Wrath of Khan Part 1. As you pointed out earlier, it is only day 3. We're very, very early, but what you've seen so far and what you heard here tonight from Game Design, where are you at?
I like it. I mean, they're listening to feedback from players. They were actively engaging in the chat while they were speaking, which means a lot to the people in the chat. So I think it's pretty grindy, but it's our first grind arc of the year. Literally the first one in, 6 months? So we also have sticker shock. on grind events because we haven't really had them. So I think it's okay. Like, it hurts right now, but it's okay. We're getting into it.
Okay. Well, that is true. Tiger and he does say, and he usually keeps his promises. You guys love Mr. Tiger as a designer, typically speaking, and he usually follows through. And he has told us that he's got plans for this moving forward. Jules, let's give you an opportunity to wrap up. Anything else that you'd like to share and your opinions and thoughts here on Wrath of Khan Part 1, Day 3?
My opinion is that there's a lot to offer throughout the faction store. However, we still have a faction credit problem. Right now, we're seeing a stimulus through launch day chests and bonus chests and other event and mission rewards, but we're eventually going to get to a point where this is not going to be sustainable and we're going to need that stimulus. We're going to need that accelerant that comes in future months. So hopefully that comes, or there's some background adjustment on the credits. But everything else feels good. I mean, it is grindy, but we know the grind is going to get better. I'm excited for new assignments. I think they are going to pay very well. Just saw one with more Prime Valor emblems in it as a crit assignment or crit reward. So super excited for seeing more data.
Yeah, that's very, very good as well. Thank you very much, Jules. Putz, final thoughts. You've been quiet tonight. What do you think about this? You were pretty critical the other day of the grind, but then after having seen the math of the metas, where do you stand on this thing?
I got to tell you that it is probably more painful than any other grind that Tiger has introduced month one. I truly believe that the amount of rare stuff that you're getting should be bumped by like 20% on the base. I'm an op 60 and I'm hitting 60s and I'm killing like 7 to 10 in a run, and I'm still having to hit 70 or 80 to get to a single pull. Like the double pull is like not even remotely close to being attainable. So I just hope that the fixes or the quality of life improvements that have been hinted about, that they are not paywalled, or at least not all of them. That is my only.
I agree with you here, and I want to point out one thing that goes hand in hand with what Jules just said. All right, there is a favor, Putz, that's going to increase your loot by up to 100%. Even level 1 is 10%. Level 2 will get you to 30%. Okay. So there's your increase on base, and that's common, uncommon, rare, and and epic splicers all the way up. All right, so there's your increase. However, this again comes back to what I talked about with Mr. Tiger tonight and what Jules just pointed out. These favors are extremely expensive. They're extremely expensive in the number of credits that they need. As compared to a more immediate gratification with some of the officer pulls up here at the top. So I'm kind of with Jules that needing 30,000 common credits when I can earn with a double pull 800 a day. I mean, that's a lot, and that's a lot of time that's going to be needed to really understand and realize the benefits of these favors. However, I will point out the favors are definitely going to feed this loop. Carol's got the loot increase, says Andy. You've got this favor that's going to give you the loot increase. So the loot increases are there, Putz, but for a lot of players, it's going to be earning enough credits to get there.
Yeah, like just on what you just said, the 8, if I just save all of that for that 10%, right? It's 45 days.
No, it shouldn't be.
30,000 divided by 800.
That's not one level. The first level was only 3,000.
Okay.
Yeah, no, 30,000 is the total.
Right?
Sorry, 30,000 is the total number of common credits that are needed throughout the whole store. This first favor, for example, to get you 30%, okay, to get you 30% would cost you 8,000 credits. The 10% is only 3,000, and then level 2 is 5,000. So you would need 8,000 credits to get to the 30% bump that you need.
And are any of those locked behind a rep level?
No.
Okay,
Neither of them are. So 8,000 credits will get you to a 30% boost in loot with no reputation barrier whatsoever. But still, I argue 8,000 credits is painful. I think 8,000 credits is painful when a single pull is 400. You know? And a double pull, which is extremely expensive and very grindy, is 800, and you need 8,000. Then right there is 100 days of double pulls. Am I doing my math
10
right?
days.
10 days.
10 days. 10 days.
But that's still double pulls, and it's very grindy. Okay? All right.
You're right. I agree.
All right. Final thoughts. Karkin, I appreciate you popping in here at the very end. Any thoughts? I know that you're a player who loves the free-to-play progression. You typically like grindier things, especially when they have great rewards that are not paywalled. How are you doing with the strength of your account and the hostiles that are being required of you?
Well, I can hit up pretty high, so I was able to complete my events fairly well. Collection aspects with the loot chart that was given, it was fairly easy to, well, not easy, well, to get to the single pull. Can't reach the epic, so I'm limited with that kind of grind. So if I'm going to do anything for the mission-wise, it's going to be all grind, and that's not looking pretty. I did like how he said he was going to turn back the temporal artifacts.
What? ...
He said that, right? We all heard that?
What?
No, nobody heard that.
What are you talking about?
That's your Pineapple Express is kicked in again.
Karkin.
I'm gaslighting.
Oh my God! See, no, well, I thought you were being serious. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I'm like, wait, what? Did I miss something big there? Okay.
Yeah, he said he was going to turn back on the temporal artifacts so we could use, the.
Yeah, he did not say that. He did not say that. Karkin, God bless it. Now you're going to make me do an edit because nobody wants to hear that garbage. All right. Yeah, Karkin is smoking again. All right. Appreciate it, everybody. Thank you guys so very much. And Karkin for wasting everybody's time for the last 60 seconds. Yes, thank you.
No, only 20. You made it last 60.
Jeez. All right. Griffin, your final thoughts as we get ready to wrap up here.
Quit with your stupid Picard maneuvers because I keep clicking on these damn ships thinking that they're hostiles and getting blown up for no reason. Stop it.
Landmines. Keep going with the landmine.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Yeah, just look at what you're hitting. How about that? Can you do that?
What?
Yeah.
No, I can't be bothered to look.
Don't you just zap things now? I thought you wouldn't even move across the system anymore. Just sit there and zap.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, there you go. All right, there's Griffin's. Quit leaving your hostiles everywhere. Pick them up and put them in the hamper, please. Goodness
Clean up
gracious.
after your mess, damn it. Come on.
Absolutely. Guys, would like to thank you for tuning into this episode of Talking Trek, Star Trek Fleet Command's official podcast, inviting you to join our Patreon membership over on Discord. Or on our website as well, TalkingTrekSTFC.com. Join the Patreon group up at the very top and enjoy benefits like access to our gold chat room, exclusive information inside our Discord, and, of course, some discounts on merchandise and lots of other fun stuff. Be sure to check that out at Star Trek or at TalkingTrekSTFC.com. On that same website, you can find links over to our other Twitch channel for Studio B Saturday nights and our YouTube channel where we've been live tonight broadcasting to find any of our shows and videos that we have done over the last several years. And I'd like to also say thank you to those Patreons who have made our content possible by saying thank you to Iron Chef, Virtual Army, Mechrack, Shady Pines, Lobot, Ripper Loves Mining, Rocky Mountain, Tagora, Living in Griffin's Head, Renegade, Rand Susie, Hank, Ape, DJ Ger MC101, Wayfarer, Louis P, Blue Plague, Pez Loco, Chris, Gopher, Grog, Edward, Archangel, Smoke Mohawk, Jet Ski, Papa Smurf, Madam Stargazer, Patrick, Captain Jack, Z-Man, Venium Scorpionus, Archer, and Hani, Indominus, Casey Jones, Canine Tooth, Sir Tail, A-Fox, Judge Kren, Bamenkus, Captain Q, Game Jr., Vegas, Admiral Inwater, Scarlet Hawk, DJ's got raided again, Jagged, John Adams, Never Go Full Tilly, Blue Mandalorian, Noxus Excipitor, Dr. Link, James, the Clueless One, 70x7, Gunner, Captain Andrew Stevens, Unimatrix, Gornography Addict, The Web, Balabomb, Medic 213, J-Babes, Dark Knight, Pixelate, Scribbler, Luke, Spectre, Captain Yam, Yukai Nico, Diva Dorsal, McLovin, Griffin, Bearbutt, Thomas, Matters, Shannara, Illuminati, and Delisha, Engineer, Jadzia, Captain Bull, Transparental, Sweet and Psycho, Lieutenant Tom Collins, Radio Dad, Check, Iron Fister, Django, Spock 8472, Dace Gross, Kill the Deal, and Gordon. Thank you guys very much for your support of Talking Track. A registered trademark and recorded in front of a live studio audience for distribution across podcast platforms everywhere. I'm your friendly neighborhood cat person saying meow for now. Love you, mean it. We will catch you on the next one. You guys have a wonderful night, and we'll look forward to seeing you coming up this weekend. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye. And there we are, all wrapped up on our podcast. Thank you guys so very, very much. As we get ready to wrap up our broadcast on Twitch and YouTube, we could take a look at a couple of raid targets if you're over here on the Twitch side. And I was thinking about, I think I'm going to get into bed at a decent time tonight. I was going to stay on for a few minutes, Griffin, but I think I'm going to go to bed. I think
sleepy time.
Well, I gotta go do like 6 hours worth of grinding first, but then I'm gonna go to bed. All right, yeah, I've got to get ready to pull my rare pull tomorrow, double pull. All right,
yeah, me too.
Yeah, gotta get ready. Gotta get ready. Where would you guys like to raid out to? We've got nobody playing Star Trek. We've got Pika on. Ooh, doing 90s night. That should be fun. We've also got, let's see. Bafty is on. We've got Noah is on, Nolan, and that's it. All right, there you go. Grind in bed. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to Cruzito, damn it. No, I'm going to grind in Star Trek Fleet Command while I'm preparing, like laying down to go to sleep. I'm not going to.
You're the one who said you're going to go grind in bed. What are you expecting to think?
All right. It's been a hot minute since we raided Bafty. You guys are saying let's go raid Bafty, so let's go check that out. We appreciate you one and all. Thank you guys for being a part of our show. Griffin, thank you as always. Lots of fun. Great interview tonight, man. Absolutely phenomenal.
That was awesome show.
It was
great information.
Absolutely great. So we appreciate all of that. Thank you to our special guests tonight as well. You guys have a wonderful night. We're going to catch you later on this weekend. You guys have fun, and we'll see you then. Good night, everybody.
I hope you remember to push record.
Oh, shit.
No.